Boom, we're live.
Hey!
Power of the internet. Howdy, YouTube. Alright, let's close down unnecessary third-party
Max the White
applications
retweeted. Oh, okay.
that are
Good when
taking
you guys
up.
are.
We're ready.
Born ready.
All right, so 3, 2, 1, clap, and then I'll take us away.
Sounds good.
We will begin in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Millennial Gaming Speak, episode 52. I am your host, Logan Moore. We've reached 52 episodes. We now have one episode for you all to listen for every week of the year. Also, 52 with the DC Universe and all that stuff, if you like comics. With me this week is Max Roberts, like he is always with us.
As always. I was waiting for the as always, Max Roberts, and you didn't give it to me.
I give it to you sometimes, trying to mix it up.
I know, I like it. I'm glad to be here. You saying 52 sounded weird. Like you saying episode 52, in my head I still had 51. 52 is a lot.
Yeah, that kind of when I said that, I was thinking of 51 as well. I don't know why.
That's weird.
We're in sync today, Max. Joining us, though, if you listened to last week's episode, you know that we talked about how we want to have more guests on the show. With us this week is a guest, and it is none other than Peter Speizia. Peter, what's going on?
Thank you for having me. It's really good to be back in the video game podcast realm.
Good to have you here.
You've been missed. I can, as a person who's listened to you for many years.
Years and years.
Peter, give us a little bit of a rundown about yourself. So obviously you're no stranger to podcasting about video games. Give us a rundown of yourself, how people may know about you, if they don't know about you, what you're all about.
Okay, well, they've probably known me from the podcast Show Me Your News, which was a Super Smash Brothers Brawl podcast that started in July 2007. So that goes way back in internet time.
Back,
like
yeah.
that's around like podcast beyond type age. But Super Smash Brothers Brawl, the hype was big before the game came out, following the Dojo website. So hosted that podcast for a long time. Ended that sometime last year when I got married, and things took a priority shift there. I right now run rhymeswithasia.com is where I post different things that I'm working on or writing. And then I did shows throughout the course of years. So WTF Pokemon was a YouTube show where we looked at the Pokemon anime with my brother and I and picked out the weaknesses of each episode, and that ran all the way from the beginning through the end of the Orange Island. So that was 118 episodes and some movies.
Jeez.
So I'm no stranger to the web media, and for 9 years I've been talking about video games. So really good to have me. Gosh, even I have to mention Max, because I came across an old podcast that we did seven years ago.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and Max was on a show that he invited me on called "But Our Princess is in Another Castle," and that was
Bopiak for short. It was my first
Bopiak.
podcast ever.
Yeah, and that makes you think of just different people, because there was Rockdar 12 at the time, Rocky, and certain people like that. Like when you don't get in contact with them, they just kind of drop off the face of the internet, and you hope they're doing all right. So in case anyone's missed me from old Show Me News days, I'm here. I'm doing fine, and thank you guys for having me.
No problem. We're very glad to have you here with us this week. Like I said at the top, we've been wanting guests for a while now. Max has said, I know somebody who would be on the show, and so now we finally have you here today. Max, you did a podcast 7.5 years ago? How was that?
Well, in all honesty, Peter is one of the reasons I even started doing video game podcasting, journalism, whatever. I started a YouTube channel about Smash Brothers during all the hype, and I called it the Smashcast. And at the time, I didn't even think to look at other names, because there was, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, wasn't there a Smashcast before on Smashboards or something?
Yeah, that was the name that Smashboards.com, the official fan forums for Smash Brothers. See that they did come up with the name Smashcast as well, but yeah.
And I didn't even think of that, but I always said it was him and Rockdar 12 were the reasons I was making these videos following the dojo and the hype. And then after that, I joined my friend Rocky, Rockdar 12, and then Alex, AW Productions, and the three of us made But Our Princess is in Another Castle, or Bopiak for short.
I'm sorry, but that's a terrible name for a show.
Oh,
That's
it's
a really
awful
terrible name.
That's an awful
it's
name.
awful. We were in our early teens, like 13, years old. Like
That's why I was surprised when he said 7.5 years ago. I didn't know you were doing stuff that long ago. I didn't get into podcasting, like listening to it, until probably 2 or 3 years ago, probably.
And don't worry, all evidence of that podcast is basically wiped off the internet. Like I looked the other day to see if there was any proof of it. You can still find the Smashcast. That YouTube channel is still going. And after Brawl came out, I kind of made it my personal YouTube channel, and there's some really embarrassing stuff on there.
It's a rough listen for all of us, myself included, because
gosh.
I mean, I was
Peter wasn't it you had the episode that you were on?
Yeah.
You found it and shared it with me?
Something like that. I mean, it was just kind of dug up deep in the archives.
Deep in the archive.
But I was 21 at the time, and like compare that to being 28 now. Like there's a big gap in maturity. I think it's clear to say, from 13 to 20, like there's also a very big jump there. But yeah, podcasting's an old game.
Your voice changes.
Well, I think we hadn't hit that point yet, but I think podcasting's an old game, and I think it's really coming back now because of the connectivity of different devices. The car being the big one. The fact that you can download files, plug it into your car through a USB or Bluetooth connectivity. The commute is key for listening to these
that's where I get all my podcasting listening done.
Yeah, it's easy. Or if you have a desk job at work, like you can easily do it there. Radio is kind of a format that is frozen in time in a way, and it hasn't really hit all the changes that other media like TV has. The on-demand watching is really big for radio, and that transitions naturally to podcasting. I think that's why we're seeing a big resurgence in all these different Patreon shows and YouTube shows now. So I think that's a big reason there. But yeah, podcasting is an old game. I mean, 2007, like OG.
Oh goodness, it was a long time ago.
I think I used to listen to podcasts a lot on my Zune. For like about a month or two, I went through a podcasting phase, but I never got really into it. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I was bored at my job, I was like, I need something to do to entertain myself before I lose my mind during these 8-hour shifts. That's kind of when I got into it for real.
I was listening to the latest episode of IGN Unfiltered with Robbie Bach, and they mentioned the Zune on it and how that was a very poor decision on their part.
Zune, I liked the Zune pretty well, honestly, except it broke for me about 3 times, and I kept having to send it back in and get refurbished ones. Microsoft back in like 2006, 2007, 2008, every one of their products seemed to have some sort of defect. I went through 2 or 3 Zunes. I went through 2 or 3 Xbox 360s because they got red ringed.
Yep.
I got
red ring. Yep.
Yep, I had one Xbox that red ringed. I sent it back in. I got another one back in the mail a couple weeks later, plugged it up, immediately didn't work, had to send that back. I think I ended up just buying a new one, which sucked. But yeah, everything Microsoft did back in those early 10s, or whatever that first decade of a new century is called.
Their hardware.
Yeah, everything back then was breaking, and it was not a fun time to be a Microsoft consumer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Nintendo consumer all the way. I've told you before. I got Brawl a day late. I lived on an island when Brawl came out.
I forgot about that. I forgot how much you moved around. How have you guys been, though? You been doing good? Is everybody doing all right? Is everybody
I've been
fun this weekend?
Yeah, I've been playing Overwatch still.
Really? Okay.
Just dipping into that. Like I just play a few rounds here and there. I
never dug into that because you heard the comparisons to Team Fortress 2, and I know it's a great game. It's up for I'm sure it's going to be up for Game of the Year by year's end, but it's just one I haven't gotten into. I dug into Red Dead Redemption when that came to the backwards compatibility.
Okay.
Because I started that right around when it came out, and I got to a certain point and just kind of fell out of it. But I've been really digging into it. It's a long game, and I hit this point where I'm out of Mexico. I'm doing things for the government now, and I'm hitting that point where it's like, this feels like the game needs to be over. But I hear it's like, oh, you're going back to your ranch, and you still have to do missions there. There's much more of the game that seems
I agree with you. Yeah, there reaches a point where you want the game to be over.
Yeah, especially when when you consume games, there are certain spoilers like you can't get rid of or you can't escape from, and Red Dead's one of them. Like most people will know of how Red Dead Redemption ends, and if you consume games media like I do, I'm one of them. So I know how the game ends, and I'm at the point where just get me there. I know what happens. Just I'm ready to get there.
Get me out of here.
Mm.
I played that game, herded me some cattle. I was like, I'm tired of herding cattle. This is boring. And
That's all you've played of it? You haven't played the whole thing, Max?
no, I got to Mexico. That's how
Okay.
far I got. And
You
then I
got about
That's at least giving it a chance, yeah.
that's about a third of the way
But
through.
I did. John Ryan at IGN. I work wikis with him. He was a little surprised I hadn't finished Red Dead, and so it was only $7.50 on sale when it went live on backward compatibility. So I bought it, and it's on my Xbox, but it will be a very long time before I get to a game like that.
That's a good deal for it. I mean, I figure when Red Dead 3 gets announced, like I want to be excited for it. So
I'm glad you said Red Dead 3 and you're not one of those people saying Red Dead 2.
You got to be smart about the video game industry, man. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite things. I've seen people say, "Man, I can't wait for Red Dead 2," and then you immediately get 50 comments under it saying, "You mean Red Dead 3?" I haven't been playing anything lately. I don't think I've played a video game in the past week.
What?
That's fine. It's good to take a break.
Completely. Yeah, I've been playing the game of life the past week. I've been trying to
I played
work
that board
out
game
more.
for the first time a month ago. That board game is awful.
Oh, it's an okay board game. I've been trying to work out more. I've been trying to eat better. I went to my best friend got married yesterday, so I was out of town. I've just been kind of all over the place the past week, it seems like, and I have not had time to play anything. I really want to dive into Dark Souls 3 really badly, but I just haven't yet. And then, of course, Abzu and Batman, Telltale's Batman come out this coming week, which I think I might be reviewing for our website.
Both of them, or just one of them?
I think both of them.
Interesting. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on Batman because I'm going to be doing the wiki for it, and I think
I'm sure I'll like it. I mean, I like Batman. I mean, Telltale's fine. Like,
I'm curious if the
know.
engine is this improved engine.
I don't think it is. I haven't heard anything about it.
I've actually heard that it is better. Yeah, I don't think it's not revolutionary, but it's better.
I've heard it's like an upgrade. It's not the new engine. It's just like we spit and polish this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're still putting the thing that frustrates me about the Batman game is that it's still on 360 and PS3. And I get it, you have install bases there, but there comes a point in every generation where you just need to say adapt or die. Everything's on the new generation consoles, and it's time to migrate. You've had 3 years.
Destiny's doing that with Rise of Iron. They've left PS3 and Xbox 360 players in the dust.
That's good. Good.
It is.
I mean, more companies need to do that. Is Call of Duty on the old systems this year?
No. Oh, actually, they haven't announced yet. Because remember, with Blops 3, they did multiplayer only.
It was just multiplayer only. But they haven't announced. 3 years is enough time. I agree with you. Like,
I would think.
Like, you have this install bases. I think once PlayStation 4 passed that 40 million point, like that's a good enough indication. Like you can still get enough sales at that point.
You would hope.
I agree. I just get sick of seeing them because I think that's the real reason why their engine hasn't taken a massive upgrade yet is because they still do have to make it for all of these platforms. So
they make it on iOS. They make it. Are they still making Vita versions?
Not for this one.
Not that I don't think so.
Not Batman. I don't. I know they did Wolf Among Us on Vita.
Yes.
I don't know if they did Borderlands.
I think Tales of the Borderlands was on it.
Vita.
No.
I thought it was. Maybe wrong though. You did the wiki, so
I played on PS4, so I don't know.
That was a really good game. That was one of the surprises last year, I think.
Tales from the Borderlands is my favorite Telltale game.
I agree.
I think I still like Season 1 of Walking Dead. I think. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong, Max.
Tales, Season 2 of Walking Dead, Season 1 of Walking Dead.
No.
No
Season
way,
1 is
no
definitely
way.
better than Season 2.
Oh, no, I love Season 2 more.
The characters in Season 2 aren't as compelling.
I'm very excited for Season 3.
Season 3 should be good.
I'm excited to see Clem again. I want my decisions to carry over. I don't care if any of the decisions don't matter, but I want my Clementine.
I doubt it'll matter though. Like honestly, the more I think about it, you and me have talked about this before about how we are concerned about our decisions. The game takes place like 3 or 4 years after the events of Season 2. Like I don't think much is going to happen. Like I don't think many of your decisions.
That baby's still in the picture.
Yeah.
But the endings for Season 2 were so different.
They were.
That I think, really nothing will carry over. You're not going to get a character you met in Season 1 or 2 to jump and meet in Season 3 because it's just also varied.
Yeah,
but I
but
still want them to carry
that's when
over.
I think they could write out most of that stuff. And even though there was very different endings at the end of season 2, because there is such a large gap, they could eventually, like, no matter what you chose, it could eventually all end up at one.
You all ended up at that city. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fine.
So I'm gonna guess that's how it's gonna go down.
We'll see.
Anyway, let's jump into the news. Peter, if you've never been on the show before, we usually start with a section called Notable News, which is what we're going to transition to right now. We talk about some of the biggest
Wah, wah, wah.
stories of the past week or week and a half, whenever we record the episode. And of course, this week we are coming back to what is a common news story on this show. If you've listened within the past 15 months, it seems like.
Oh goodness.
Is the NX. We've got more NX news, more NX leaks of sorts this week.
And these are,
Oh,
I think these carry a little more heft than everything up to this point.
This is a bombshell. Like, you can't compare it to any past news. This is blowing it out of the water.
You know, I'm a skeptic with all of it, though. I don't believe anything until it comes out of Reggie Fils-Aimé's mouth. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I think this is probably the most legitimate leak we've got at this point. But it is looking like the NX is going to be some sort of portable console that then connects to your TV, and it has detachable controllers possibly on the side. I mean, if you want to look at the mock-ups for this, this story didn't leak. The story came out on Eurogamer, I think Tuesday of this past week.
26th. So yeah, whatever day that was.
Yeah, it was either a Monday or a Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah, so if you want to see read the story in its entirety and check out some of the mock-up images they've got, head over to Eurogamer because they were the one with the scoop. It's also supposedly going to be running on cartridges, similar to probably how the DS works, if I had to guess.
It makes sense. I mean, the Vita uses cartridges, and so does the 3DS.
Yeah.
And it makes sense with their handheld market. Now that doesn't mean digital game sales are out of the way either. So I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line you even see a digital only game that really is a lot bigger than what can fit on a cartridge.
I wouldn't put stock in that, at least, especially knowing how behind Nintendo is with all things internet related. It would be hard for me to see them doing a specific download only title.
Well, maybe not Nintendo, but a third party.
Bear in mind, though, that there are rumors and there are source discussions that Nintendo originally wanted this to be an all-digital machine. But of course, they have their partnerships through retail. They have to still make them happy with the kind of physical copies. We're not at that point with the all-digital future. But if someone did want to go all-digital, they could certainly make that happen with this device. Now, they don't mention any internal storage. They don't mention if there will be an SD card slot, because you hope that there will be some sort of expandable memory.
They can't do a Wii U situation with the max size being 32 gigs. Or Vita.
They can't do Wii U with the small hard drive. They can't do Vita with the proprietary cards. I know that's Sony's game, and that's why the Vita failed. But yeah, you hope that they continue with the SD cards from 3DS, and that you just can make it as high as possible. Cartridges make sense because you don't want discs on portable. I mean,
PSP,
we saw what happened with UMDs and
you don't
PSP.
like the Universal Media Disc? What's wrong?
I think they're cute, but they weren't functional. And you weren't able to kind of move them up to a physical future, digital future. So so that was a bad idea there.
It also apparently is running off the NVIDIA Tegra chip, which is what they put in the Shield, the NVIDIA Shield system. Which, I mean, it's not PS4, Xbox One, but it's certainly this is a beefy portable if this is the case.
Yeah, they haven't confirmed yet if it's going to be the X1 chip, which is in that Shield machine, or there's also a Google tablet that has that. They haven't said if it's going to be the X1, if it's going to be a super clocked or beefed up X1, or there's talk of maybe an X2 chip that may be
coming around the
revealed. Because when this comes out in March 2017, the X1 chip's going to be 2 years old, and so you don't want the dated tech, plus a couple of years. You kind of want to future-proof it a little bit, but then it's going to be this delicate balance of how high do you want to go, how much does the price get impacted. It's a really delicate balance because Nintendo wants to recapture the blue ocean again. They want to see what happens with the Wii, and the PR message of take your game anywhere that you want to go is very accessible to a very wide-open market that is used to cell phones and mobile games and Pokemon Go, which we can get to later.
Yeah.
But they want to kind of take that, give a wider variety of game experience, and then say, hey, you can also bring that back on your TV. So it's going to be a really interesting balance of power versus price versus hitting that market sweet spot.
It's this, after the Wii success and becoming this almost a cultural phenomenon. I mean, everyone had a Wii. It was the everyman's machine. And then the horrible marketing of the Wii U, they have to be able to focus both on the gamers and try and capture some of the everyday man. And what you're saying about it being this portable system, that's a concept people can grasp and get behind. Mm-hmm. And I do like the idea of this being an all-in-one, a home and a portable console, because then their brands, their franchises aren't divided. For the first time ever down the line, we could get a full-fledged Pokemon RPG on our TV.
Mm-hmm. Especially because, Pokemon RPGs for the longest time, the mainline series of games, they never were on consoles because they didn't want to give up the idea that you could take it portably and you could trade with friends and battle with friends portably. If that situation is solved on both ends, you definitely could get playing a mainline RPG on the
Fire
TV.
Emblem is not split. When was the last time we got a console Fire Emblem game? The Wii?
Radiant Dawn? Yeah.
Wii. It's been so long. Yeah. Animal Crossing wouldn't have that problem. Actually, Animal Crossing could benefit majorly from a portable and a home console version.
Plus the mobile game that's coming out. Yeah, Animal Crossing can hit big.
Ooh, it's exciting. I also like the idea of the detachable controllers. Local co-op is something Nintendo thrives at. They're really the only company still doing that besides Lego games and doing it well. Things like Mario Kart, Smash Brothers. Even though Mario Party 10 is, I don't think, a very good party game. I mean, it's there. They're making these co-op local experiences, Super Mario 3D World. Putting that on the go and having local co-op either on the go or on your TV sounds awesome right out of the box.
I like the promise of it. The real test will be how is it designed, and you're seeing a lot of the mock-ups be symmetrical controllers, but you don't want a symmetrical full controller with everything combined, if that makes sense. Because you're seeing a lot of people like, the face buttons are on the right, and then the D-pad is on the left, and then you have your analog sticks. But if you break those two ends out, one person has face buttons and another person has D-pad. Like, that doesn't work. So they need to come up with a design solution that makes sense, is comfortable, and is functional in that sense. Back to the franchises split, I think this point cannot go missed, is that not only would the franchises be united, but the game creation efforts. The idea that Nintendo wants to bring everything under one operating system, much like an Apple, one environment that they can program for, it's not just the franchises that have been split between console and portable, it's also the work of their teams, their development teams. The development teams can work on a game that is meant for all platforms in a sense, both, for the NX being a portable game and a console game in a sense.
It would be like when they put Smash Bros. On both the 3DS and the Wii U. It was two different. It was a similar game, but it was also a completely different game at the same time.
Exactly, and when you have the combined efforts to focus on just that one SKU, I think that's going to make things a lot better. It improves the efficiency, and it gets not only a better launch lineup, but one of the big reasons the Wii U failed is because you can't survive on a system that has an exclusive first-party title that once every 3 months comes out during its heyday, 2 months. Like if you have between whatever third-party support Nintendo may glean, first-party, and then some second-party as well, you're all focused on one machine, and that's going to really help their software output.
Like the idea of this machine is just so exciting to me. And Logan, I know, doesn't want this at all.
I don't want this. No, I have never wanted this. The entire time we've talked about the NX, people have hypothesized that this is similar to what it would be. Like, it would be a combination
hybrid fusion machine.
Yeah, it'd be a hybrid between their portable and their home console. I just want a home console. And I understand that I could make that the home console, but I just want a powerful box that sits in that entertainment center right over there where my hand is, if you're watching on YouTube, right over there, and I can just put it in there and I can just pop games in, similar to a PS4 or an Xbox One. That's all I want at this point. And this doesn't sound bad to me. Like, It would be interesting, and I could see them doing some intriguing things with it, kind of like what you guys have talked about here, how it would kind of combine both sides of it, and there would be interesting things like a Pokemon RPG that would technically be on a home console finally. But overall, like, I just don't want this, so and I may be in the minority there, but I just want to see how this would practically work
But
and what some good ideas for it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and say what you want to say. I have a couple.
I was gonna say if it was just a box you plug into your entertainment system and leave there, what makes it different than the PS4 and an Xbox One?
The games.
The
Mario,
games,
Zelda, those things. That's what I want.
Those are the reason. That's the reason I have an Xbox is for the exclusives. And, between the PS4 and the Xbox One, they're just big, powerful PCs disguised as inside a box. I don't need the gimmicks as far as a gamepad or motion controls, but
that's what I'm saying. Like Nintendo's been on this track since the Wii.
Stands out. My 3DS is.
They got to do something.
3DS is where portable games thrive, and I've been playing Ocarina of Time, like I mentioned on the show, and I've been playing most of it in 3D because I have the new one, so the face tracking helps out quite a bit. It just kind of adds little bits of immersion and things, and it's gimmicky, but it's not the heart and soul like motion controls were for the Wii. I think I like the idea of a powerful HD portable console that if I want to, I can just pick it up, take it to my friend's house and plug in the TV and we can play Smash Brothers on the big screen. Or I can take it on the go. Like, I think this is a smart gimmick, I guess is the best way to phrase it. It's not something they're trying to beat over your head with, like with this outdated tablet for the Wii U. It's something that I think makes sense.
I feel like it's once again something that's somewhat confusing to wrap around the casual consumer's mind, though. Like,
I don't know about that.
I'm both ways on it. Like, Nintendo would, again, the thing I always talk about with Nintendo, they'd have to market it properly, and they'd have to explain to everybody like what it is and not botch it like they did with the Wii U. And then I think if they do that properly, then people may understand it. But I think a lot of people would be confused, is this a sequel to the DS, or is this a sequel to the Wii U?
Well, I think you have to ditch the DS brand, finally. Yep. And you have to ditch the Wii brand. It has to be its own thing. It has to be the next GameCube, so to speak. It's a different name. It's a different brand.
We're seeing Nintendo's logo change up. They're going back to the red and white scheme. They have the new catchphrase, "There's no play like it." So I think they're starting to get those things in order. And I think they could probably they've learned their lesson, certainly. Logan, I would argue the point that if you have the device that you envision Nintendo wanting to do, Nintendo goes out of business. Because that's what they tried to do with the Wii U. The power game is a losing struggle.
For Nintendo.
You are not going to be able to keep up the pace with Sony, with Microsoft, and expect a third player to kind of go par to par, toe to toe with that. The issue with, especially when you're talking third-party support, if you do another x86 PC-like box, you can get a lot of the easy ports going, and sure, there's some software sustainability like that. But when it comes to things like partnerships with EA, and you want to talk about their EA Sports, just say that as an example of possible third-party partnerships. I know I hear you're a big sports fan on this show. So if you want to play, say, the sports games on Wii U, or NX, on a Nintendo powerful console, there is not a big enough market share of those kind of players on Nintendo platforms statistically. So that they wouldn't be able to pull that as a big draw.
Your Call of Duty bros aren't there. Your Madden people.
I understand that, and I understand that if they did just create a powerful box, then it would just be 3 similar boxes, and which ones do you choose?
Exactly.
And I also understand that I am probably in the minority of people who just want that. I mean, and I know that, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like it's been ever since the GameCube kind of failed, they've felt the need to create some sort of gimmick. And I understand, to your point, that they're trying to stand out and make their systems different, or else they may go out of business. But it is just frustrating to me that I feel like there's always like a hoop to jump through when you have to play their games. And sometimes they work out well, and sometimes they don't work out as well. Like the tablet controller, for the most part, like I hate it. And with the Wii, I hate it. I hated some of the motion controls in some of their games on the Wii. And now with this, it could be. This sounds better. It's still a little gimmicky, but I don't think it'll directly affect gameplay, which sounds fine, and that's where I'm okay with it. The one other thing I did want to mention is that if I do want to turn it into a home console, like personally, and I don't have much interest in playing on the go, I hope that there's like separate controllers where you can just be like, if you just want to play at home, here's like the Pro controller for the NX.
Yeah, I think that is a must. That is
and I think that's a
if
key.
If there weren't different controllers, wouldn't it then just be limited to 2-player co-op only?
Yeah, and you can't have
then
that.
you're getting your games
there's
like
that,
Smash Brothers, which just introduced 8-player co-op.
But
out
yeah,
the
I'm
door.
hoping the controller's completely different from the mock-up one, because the thing
Oh
where
yeah, this is just people's imagination.
Yeah.
It's just-
yeah, and I understand that, but as it
I
looks
just want
now,
the GameCube controller back.
as it goes now, looking at how they think it could work, I think it looks incredibly cheap. I don't know if you guys get that vibe either, but I think like the controllers tearing off the side of it looks kind of, I don't know, like it looks too much like a toy and not enough like a video game console to me.
A little bit. I mean, Nintendo is in a way a glorified toy company.
Yes, they are.
Again, they have to hit a certain price point. I think $300 is the absolute maximum they could possibly get away with.
I agree.
$249 is probably where they'll do, because that was Wii territory. But if they can do $200 somehow,
wasn't the
for
3DS $250 when it launched?
it was.
3DS
When it
was
launched,
like
it was
$250 or $300.
It was
Good old
250 when it
3DS.
launched. Yeah. But if they want to try to recapture the Wii, I mean, like it's right around in that price point that they're looking for to get the wide appeal. But yeah, I mean, even then you could say in 200 for. I think 249 to 300 is where it would be.
And
But at the same time, like you're not going to be looking at a slick, very thing. Even though I guess some of the reports are saying that it's a modern design, but yeah, hopefully not just a break it off like a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Like you can't be doing that.
You know, part of me thinks if the controllers do break off, like I just got the Elite controller for the Xbox One, and the way all the parts stick on are through powerful magnets, and like it clicks. And when you're playing the game, you do not feel those analogs like they're going to pop off, or the paddles. So maybe powerful magnets, if it does break off like that, something like, something that feels secure when you're playing on the go. You're not worried about bumping and half your system falls off because it's supposed to snap off like that. And also, I think Nintendo always puts out something. I think at least I never expect what I see from them as far as design goes and the way things work. I remember when the Wii was called the Revolution, and I'd pick up that magazine, and when they show us that controller, it didn't even cross my mind that it would look like that, and certainly didn't cross my mind that they would go with an outdated tablet for the Wii U. So I think our mock-ups or people's mock-ups aren't going to be exactly like that. I think we're going to be pretty surprised here when they reveal it. Hopefully in September, like some reports have said.
That sounds
September. They can't go into October.
Yeah, no, I was kind of pegging September, before this happened. So it was good to see that kind of affirmed. It gives you 6 months before the release time, so.
Which is short and sweet. I remember the Xbox One reveal, and then later that year it was out. Same thing with the PS4, revealed in February, was announced, and then they showed off the box, I believe, at E3. Yep. It's a quick turnaround. It's almost like Fallout 4's release cycle, but for a system. Even though we've been talking about the NX for almost 2 years.
Ad nauseum. Yeah. Like I said, like 14, 15 months at this point is what
I'm personally super curious what the name will be, because we've been calling it NX for so long, just like any system, like Project Morpheus or Dolphin, or what was the Wii U's code name? I can never remember it.
Project Cafe.
That's Cafe. I knew it had Cafe in the title. I thought the chip was that, though.
Yeah, PS4 was Orbis, Microsoft Xbox One was Durango. So yeah,
we've got Scorpio now.
Yeah, Scorpio. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like I like NX, especially with cross. It's like Nintendo Cross. You're gonna have the cross-play, cross-compatibility. That's what it works.
Maybe it is called NX. Maybe they're gonna. Well, that's what it is. It's just called.
That'd be cool. I mean, yeah, you had NES.
I'm
a bunch of people want it to just be called a Nintendo again, which they won't. But
and we've got to think about these things too. It should have Amiibo support. I think that would be very poor of them to completely ditch this platform.
Yeah. And I feel like that's already been confirmed.
Compatibility. I think this is a N64 to GameCube kind of jump.
Yep.
I think we are going to lose backward compatibility for Wii U.
Yes.
Well,
And,
if it's cartridge based, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's a given.
well, even with digital games and stuff too, because I mean, you can buy Wii games on your Wii U digitally and things like that. Like I don't think Splatoon is going to run on NX. I think there is a Splatoon 2. Like they keep the franchises going that way. I don't think you will see ports of Wii U games to it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
think
will.
you have
Yeah,
you
you
have the
do.
reports. You have the reports of some Wii
Smash
U
Brothers.
games that are. You have Smash Brothers, of course, Breath of the Wild, but there's also
I was gonna
talk
say
that,
you've already got Breath of the Wild, which
That's fair.
was in development for Wii U first. So
and then you have talk that Mario Maker and Splatoon are also in the works.
I do hope Mario Maker can't die on the Wii U. And if
Mario
it,
Maker Portable would be amazing.
like just to
Amazing,
make games
yeah.
make levels on the go or play them on the go would be. I wish I could just make levels on my 3DS and play them on my Wii U. And the ability to do that, I think, in two places, it'd be so cool.
Entirely possible. Yeah.
before I transition us to the next Nintendo related story, let me ask you guys. So you do if you could change anything about this current mock-up and this current idea of what the NX could be, like what would you want changed, or is this exactly what you want? Because I'd still like to see less emphasis on the portability of the console and the fact that you can play it on the go, and more emphasis on the home console side of it. Because I feel like, because even the article says first, it's a portable console that then can also hook up to your TV. I'd like to see it be the other way around, where it's primarily a home console that you can then take portably with you in some fashion. But I feel like they're trying to sell it as a portable first and foremost. Like, is there anything you guys want to see changed?
Yes, some things. I disagree with you in the sense that I do like the portable first aspect. You got to also consider, I mean, consoles are dying in Japan, and Japan is like their first market. Yeah, granted, they do a lot of work, in North America and Europe, but in Japan, the mobile space is so big, and we're seeing with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in particular, consoles are not big over there. They need to have that mobile component for their train rides, and that gives them the flexibility there. Here it'd be really big as well, Europe for all the public transport that they have. So I think mobile first is the right aspect. What I do hope they change is I hope that the supplemental power unit or whatever that they're soon getting the patent for that home console, I hope that when you plug it in, it grants more power, more capability.
It makes it beefier.
I'm not much of a tech specs person, but all I would want to be happy, frame rates be damned. I just want a stiff 30. If they can do 60, fine.
Yeah.
But 720p portable and powered up to 1080p for the TV, that's all I want. That's all I want. So, I mean, if the console bit that you plug into gives it a little more, supplemental processing power to be able to do 1080p, that would be great, because 720p on TVs going forward, that's going to get outdated quickly.
Especially with the Sony and Microsoft trying to take the jump to 4K.
Especially, yes.
So they're going to get left in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to be very considerate about battery life with a powerful portable.
For sure.
If it is a Pascal NVIDIA chip, these are chips that are designed for low power draw, or compared to other chips. So I think you can have a decent battery life, but that's something that's going to be a big aspect to it. And the one thing I do hope, I'm really okay with the idea of the portability, but they're going to have to sell me on the detachable controllers, because if we start seeing games designed for the gimmick, designed for that two-player portability, I think that's a misdirection and a misfocus. You need to have the core game aspect that you can have at home but on the go, but don't consider yourself or worry about designing games just for these two little detachable controllers. Like, if that's an aspect of it, great, but that shouldn't be the main focus of these.
That would limit the game design too.
That's what I've been scared of with this, and that's why I'm always scared that Nintendo is in this. Like, they do feel like they have to create a gimmick to then sell their games, because then I feel like the gimmick then immediately dictates how they design the games for the system, and that's been apparent with both the Wii and the Wii U, is that they have to design around how the console works rather than just, we made a game and we're going to put it on this console now. Like,
and then You know, like the Wii U, some examples that do stick out where they just completely ignored the fact that it had a gamepad feature. Donkey
Yes.
Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like you can pick to play on the gamepad or the TV. If you play on the TV, the gamepad is useless. And that was one of the first things that I thought was kind of they leave that kind of stuff in the dust later in the life cycle of these things. You really don't see too many games designed for the 3D effect on the 3DS now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, besides games like Mario Maker, and apparently motion controls in Splatoon are better, but they kind of leave the gimmicks in the dust later on in life of the system, and I hope they would focus on the games
Yeah.
and delivering them first
And I hope that's been a stiff lesson learned. But I am excited to see. I am excited to see what the partnership with DNA brings to their new online infrastructure and environment. I wonder what the rumored compatibility with Nintendo's mobile games will be. I mean, obviously it's going to be a Wi-Fi system, but I wonder if there's some sort of compatibility, say, with Pokemon Go. I mean, that needs data. If adding data to this thing would be terrible. I mean, we saw what happened.
That would be a Vita situation with a 3G Vita all over again.
And you really don't want that. So it's going to be interesting. And of course, you need a very ergonomically comfortable controller.
That was the
to
one
play.
thing I was
That's
going to
the
change
big
about
thing,
all
yeah.
these mock-ups. This thing's got right now it looks like a rectangle.
Yeah.
It's got to be comfortable. I would love something more akin to Game Boy Advance designs. I think the original Game Boy Advance shape, because this isn't going to be a clamshell system. You have to think, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're plugging it into a dock. So
despite what people were trying to think, like remember the Star Fox anime, like did we see the NX with the screen or whatever that nonsense was?
No, I think the clamshell's gone, so we're back to this open screen format like the Game Boy Advance. I think something throwback. Do you remember when they announced the new 3DSs, the regular size and the XL? The irregular sized one had like the colored SNES buttons.
Yeah.
Like these little touchstones. I would love, just design-wise, something that's a touchstone to Nintendo's past, whether that's, you know, NES flavored or SNES, just something that reminds you this is Nintendo that makes all these wonderful games. And
I would like to think they're starting to go. I would like to think they're starting to go back there that way with the change to the red and white logo, with the surprise announcement of the mini NES. I'd like to think that they're starting to think backwards.
I think the mini NES is just the gateway for mini SNES, mini N64. I think if this sells well, I think we usher in kind of, or maybe all that stuff is on the NX. They beef up their virtual console.
Nintendo will find a way, no matter what, to resell you old games.
You got to think virtual console is going to be, you know, unanimous across the board, all of those options. But yeah, of course, with the mini NES, leave it to Nintendo for it to be closed off. 30 games, you can't add any more. And they have the short cables for the controllers. So even then, with Nintendo,
is it that short of a cable?
Yeah, it's apparently rather short. They were talking on Nintendo Voice Chat this past weekend on GN that they were saying like it's the width of like a table. And it's like
no way.
It's like that's.
So you're gonna need, what you really need is a 10-foot HDMI cable to bring that thing close to you.
something ridiculous. So yeah, you almost wonder like, oh, where's the rub? Nintendo's gonna always have a negative, but you know we're positive for right now. I think for Max and I mean Logan, certainly there's some skepticism.
Yeah, I'm not even negative on it. I just want to see the actual thing, and then I'll know whether or not I should get excited for it or not. Because
sounds like you have about a month and a half to go.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the reveal. I mean, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I'm, finishing up my master's program at university, and I'm studying communications with a media studies focus. And my final thesis is the NX pre-launch hype, and like this.
That's your final thesis?
Yeah. So like this is right in my wheelhouse, and I'm loving it, and I'm really excited for September or whenever they say it's going to be. But
just wait till they drop that direct, man. Like they say,
it's going to be
NX
big.
reveal this direct. Clear your schedules.
I'll lose my mind.
It's so exciting. Just the idea of it. And I tweeted out before the show, it popped in my head today, where are the final Smash Bros. Amiibos?
Yeah.
Where's Bayonetta? Where's Cloud? Corn?
As I'm sitting on my collection with those are the only ones missing, I want to complete the cycle.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's.
I think the only one I didn't buy was you.
I want a direct. I need a direct.
In the meantime, sticking with Nintendo, they're losing a lot of money right now.
They're bleeding.
Nintendo is going not broke, but man, they've taken a big hit this year, which isn't a surprise by any means because they have literally nothing to keep them afloat this year, which is kind of what we touched on last week, where the mini NES is just something they're putting out there to kind of help buoy them for a couple months until the NX does come out, because we know they've got a bunch of stuff coming early next year. The NX is slated to come out in March. We know that we're going to start seeing a bunch more games and more of the console in the next couple months. But right now, wow, their stocks are taking a dive. After we saw them take a big increase a couple weeks ago when Pokemon Go came out, now they're looking like they're going in the other direction. I think they're at their lowest since the 90s, at some point in the early 90s.
I was just going to say, but Logan, what about those articles that said Nintendo has more market value than Sony?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's investors. That's them being foolish. I know a couple of friends who bought in Nintendo stock before, so yeah, they could have made quite a bit of money, but I don't think they bailed at that right point.
They didn't bail at the peak.
Yeah, so
I'm
like,
trying to.
It's their loss.
I was trying to find the specific tweet, but I don't think I can find it. During this financial report, people notice that the Wii is no longer mentioned.
Yeah.
In their sales, so like
the Wii's officially out of production now.
And I was trying to. Someone tweeted out the final numbers as far as hardware and software sales.
Yeah. It was close to 101 million on hardware. Software probably a little bit more than that, maybe 163.
I think software was ridiculously high, but
when every Wii comes with a free game, then yeah, something around there.
I don't know if you're right. It would be definitely more than that. What am I thinking? Yeah.
I think it was close to 900.
That sounds about right.
I don't know if do they count Wii Sports? You would think they would.
Yeah. Wii Sports is the best-selling Wii game.
Yeah, and like Wii Play is like in the
Wii
top
Play is up
5.
there.
Yeah, because
Mario Kart I think was the big one though, right?
Yes. As far as legitimate sales, yeah, Mario Kart Wii.
Legitimate sales, yeah. Because Wii Play was like at the top of NPD sales charts for months because you were buying a controller and got a free game with it, a free really bad game.
It's as far as their sales goes, it's the one thing I think before we get to the NX, because that's really gonna kind of see which way the company's going, is the Fire Emblem and the Animal Crossing mobile games, which we haven't heard terribly too much about. Those would actually be Nintendo games that could be bringing in money, unlike Pokemon Go, where they only own a little bit of the Pokemon brand. We'll have to see what those games shape up to be, and I think Animal Crossing, just on paper, sounds like the one that has more potential to rake in the dough in a mobile space.
Yeah, Fire Emblem is definitely a niche sort of thing.
It's more for the hardcore gamer, but Animal Crossing, if you can buy like packs of clothes or something, I don't know, like you can buy this themed room, I feel like people would spend a lot.
Then you're talking
of
compatibility with an NX version and things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of huge potential there.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what about Project Giant Robot possibly raking in the big bucks? That's still on the Wii U software schedule, right?
Oh gosh, that game.
Why is that still on their schedule? I don't understand.
I don't know,
that.
but what was it? Project Guard or was it Project Guard?
Project
became
Guard.
Star Fox Guard.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're hesitant to let or say that like a Miyamoto project failed, and I don't think they want to make that announcement and just kind of have it.
Probably not.
But it looks bad with.
Yeah.
It looks bad with
Do
Color
you think
Splash
Pikmin
stuff
4
on it, yeah.
is Pikmin 4 NX?
That's gonna be NX. Yeah.
You
That's
think?
got to be NX.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure.
They've said for like the last year that it's close to being done, and I'm sure like with Pikmin 3 slipping to Wii U, I'm sure Pikmin 4 is slipped to NX, and it makes sense because you're gonna have the screen.
It would be the first. It would also, if it is this portable system, it's the first portable Pikmin game.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I've always thought the idea of Pikmin on 3DS would be good. I also thought Paper Mario on portable would be great, and then they crushed my hopes and dreams. Just give me you know what? Bring the GameCube Virtual Console to NX and put Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door on it, and you will never see me again.
It's a great game. Yep.
That's the dream. Thousand-Year Door on the go.
Yeah, I mean, for NX software, like you still have like the 2 Dragon Quest games. I mean, 11 and then 10, the Wii MMO. What the Sonic?
I was gonna say Sonic Mania is coming to NX supposedly with that awful Photoshop logo.
They didn't put NX at the bottom of Mania.
Not on that one. It was the
it wasn't the other
project.
Oh yeah. I got it mixed up. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
But I do hope Sonic Mania comes to it.
Yeah.
Sonic Mania looks so good.
You think it should?
You would hope.
But yeah, so I think that's also something just going back to NX talk, I'm sure. But that and combined with all the other Nintendo offerings, the software library is something to certainly be excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nothing, and 3DS is having a pretty good back end of the year. I mean, Pokemon Sun and Moon is going to be the big one.
Yeah.
You have the NES, the mini NES. Yeah, we were talking before the show. Like, yeah, the NES is going to outsell the Wii U this year. Just as a matter of fact, like that's strange to think in 2016. But you have other 3DS games. I mean, Dragon Quest VII is coming out this fall. I'm excited for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 6, The Spirit of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be exciting. So, like, there are still 3DS games at least, but then you look on that Wii U side and it's Color Splash. That's it
Which
for this year. Like,
Nothing.
okay.
I mean, what else is there besides that? I felt like there was like a tennis. No, the tennis game was last year, wasn't it?
Mario Tennis was last year.
It was last year. Maybe a couple small third parties, but that's all they have.
Sonic and Mario at the Rio Olympics.
I wonder if there'll be poopy
Rio.
rivers for them to
I
paddle
don't know,
through.
man. There's
Zika mosquitoes that are kind of like the Mario Paint flies that
Mario-
you SWAT.
Mario dies from the Zika
I would love to
virus.
see. I'd love to see some Mario Maker DLC. I would love to see some more DLC offerings
Yeah.
for
What would
specifically
the
that
DLC
game.
be? But,
But I
I
know
mean, it would just be, like,
Splatoon just
added-
wrapped up its last Splatfest, so I feel like Splatoon's DLC days are wrapping up. Mario Kart is done, unfortunately, and so is Smash.
Yeah, just kill it all. Shift focus.
I was gonna
to
say-
NX, yeah.
Yeah, just kill it. Don't drag it out. We're already in
Color
this.
Splash,
We're gonna kill
why?
it. Just end it.
So bad. Yeah.
Yeah, so
We'll
Nintendo's
see.
struggling. It's not much of a surprise, but I'm excited for Sun and Moon. Like every dumb little trailer.
I'm excited
comes
for
out,
that as
like,
well.
I'm gonna get that game. Okay, Amazon 2-pack bundle. All right, you
Oh,
got me.
yeah, give me
Aluminum
that steel
tin,
case.
Fine. All right, good. All right.
Gotta catch the stupid Donald Trump weasel and evolve it into whatever the heck it's gonna become.
I'm gonna evolve and I'm gonna be huge.
Now, speaking of Pokemon, our other news story is about Pokemon Go, but before we actually talk about that specific news story, I'm curious, Peter, what you think of Pokemon Go, because you are one of the biggest Pokemon fans I know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious what you think of the game.
I think the game launched too early.
Okay.
I think they are really missing an opportunity with as popular as it got. And I didn't expect it to be this popular. I didn't expect national news outlets to cover Pokemon things in 2016 to pay $50 for terrible spinning 3D models. I didn't expect that to be where we are with a Pokemon game.
The insane thing about it being too popular, I was in a grocery store yesterday,
Mhm.
and of course they've always got all the tabloids and stuff saying on the racks. And I
Yeah.
think it was People magazine that on the front it was something stupid about probably one of the Kardashians or something like that. And then in the top corner of the magazine it said Pokemon Go inside the latest cultural phenomenon.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's
there's now
crazy.
articles about Pokemon Go
Oh my
in
God.
the same
People
magazines.
magazine.
Yeah, and People magazine.
Wow.
It's-
See, like I don't know what you guys' histories were with Pokemon, but like when Red and Blue came out over here, and along with the anime in 1998. I mean, yeah, 96 was Red and Green in Japan, but over here in the United States, 1998, September. I think.
I was 4 years old.
Okay.
I bought
so like,
I bought them I think around release. I started watching the anime like right when that came out as well.
okay. I was 10 years old. Like I
Prime.
am Ash Ketchum. Like that is right in my wheelhouse. And so when I have coworkers who the youngest one on my team is like 12 years older than me, maybe, and like so all of them are just saying like I don't get this Pokemon Go thing. You're gonna catch the Pokemans, and I'm like, you don't get it. Like this is my wheelhouse. Other companies are gonna try to do all these AR games, and they're not going to get that Pokemon is a 20-year global phenomenon. You don't make this work based on the intellectual property. It's the intellectual property that sells the idea, not the idea of play games on my phone. Like that's not the point of that.
If you swapped this out with Digimon or Skylanders,
No, it's not the same.
this game would not be what it is. It's not the
Not
game
even
design.
remotely.
It is the fact that there's a Pikachu outside my house and I went to go catch it.
There was a
But of course-
Growlithe outside my house earlier that I sprinted out of my house to go catch.
Nice. I mean, I was driving with people in the car and they had their Pokemon Go up and popped up like Jinx, and like I'm driving like okay, we're
There's
taking
Jinx.
the-
Yeah, we caught.
like taking the
I caught a
nearest right
Jinx at the
here.
Mackinac
and-
Bridge.
yeah. Oh, awesome, nice. And, yeah, it happened to be like a Tauros also right there. So like,
Oh gosh.
yeah, don't play Pokemon Go while driving. Pull over.
They do tell you now when you
Now
open the
that's a
app.
New
It's like,
update, yeah.
don't
Exactly.
trespass, don't play and drive.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm. So of course I
covering
think they were
themselves.
brilliant with Generation 1 being the focus. I mean, yeah, no one's going to get excited to say I'm going to catch a Froakie. Yeah, of course mix those in to sustain the life of the game. But yeah, I think the big missed opportunity, aside from the terrible PR and marketing that we're going to get to from Niantic, because they seem rather clueless on this front, but I think they launched it too early, not only to, one, have the Pokemon Go Plus accessory ready. I know you want the demand to kind of match the
Yeah.
supply,
Especially with it
but
just being delayed to
yeah, but
September.
exactly. But 2 months later, like, you didn't have that ready in time. That's frustrating. And I think to not have trading and battling PvP ready at launch is a huge missed opportunity. Yeah, granted, you can patch it in later. They confirmed that trading will be a patch that's coming soon, but you're going to lose a chunk of your audience by then. And if you wanted to sustain the momentum that you have, I think those were two key features that were missing. To have only battling be at the gyms, and the gyms to work strangely as they are right now.
And for the battling to suck in the
Yeah,
way that it does as
so
well.
so like to not have that be PvP, and I mean trading is such a key fundamental thing, especially to build up your Pokédex. Like, how are you missing that at launch? So I think that's the big missed opportunity there. Yeah, the servers going down. I play with a Pokemon Trainer Club account because that's Pokemon.com. I figured, might as well be rewarded for my years of playing these Pokemon games.
Right,
And,
right.
connected to all the other games. But their servers are terrible in comparison to Google. I'm constantly having downtimes, whereas my wife and my brother are playing on their Google accounts just fine. So I think that's also a big slip up there. So there are a lot of things to say that Pokemon Go is not perfect, but it's hitting that sweet spot just right, and I'm having fun with it. I'm not, going crazy with it. I'm only a level 11 when I know people are like, oh, 15, 17.
I'm only level 7. I barely am diving in. Like
I
just
saw a level
touching
28 today with
Oh
a
my gosh.
2237 Vaporeon at a gym.
Vaporeon apparently got nerfed.
Vaporeon got nerfed, but then I saw like a level 21 something Dragonite at another gym. It's like these people, like, they got a lot of time on their hands. So
And they
yeah,
walk a lot.
Yeah.
yeah. Or they
Yeah.
live right by big downtown areas or malls. Malls are huge.
That's
for
the
Pokemon
thing.
Go.
If you live downtown, then it's really easy because
Mhm.
I've gone downtown with friends a couple times, and you level up insanely quick.
You
Like
camp
faster
out
than you would
by
expect.
stops. Yeah, it's wild. I think my biggest catch is I hatched an Aerodactyl from a 10 km egg.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I like that one. On my first day, I came across a seal and I caught it, and I have not seen really anyone else saying that they have a seal. I'm like, I find that strange. So I'm having good experiences with it. We went to a city on my wife's anniversary, for our 1-year anniversary, and we came across this Pokestop, and there were 15 people gathered, and we just had a great time talking to people. I love that aspect of it. I
It's
love
very
how
social. It's a cool social thing.
yeah, and for people to be suffering with depression, just to give them motivation to get out of the house. I mean, that's a huge thing, and I think those are a lot of positives. I mean, say what you will about the fake news stories about I came across a dead body or I fell into a hole. I mean, say what you will about those, but the positives I think generally outweigh.
Andrew
the negatives
Goldfarb
here.
did fall off a pier.
He did fall off a pier. That's a little silly, Goldfarb. But no, I think there's a lot of positive aspects to be said about Pokemon Go. That said, this update today,
Awful.
I think it ignores the real problem. I saw a tweet that says, you don't invent Marco Polo, get 80 million people to play, and then wonder why people are stopping playing when you don't say Polo back. Like,
Yeah.
kind of
That's the perfect tweet. I was going to bring that one up as well because they've completely
see that.
eliminated the steps function at this point. So now you know which Pokemon are near you. You have no idea where they are.
They saw a problem. They're like, this problem, we don't know how to fix it, so we'll just cut the whole thing out.
You would assume they're trying to fix it and add it back in a later update, but the fact that it's entirely gone now is just strange.
And
Maybe
I don't
that's
know
the workaround they needed to do with it in order to fix it, was to just completely get rid of it. But like you said, and I know you were going to hit on it, is that their marketing and their PR with the community has just been god awful. And the fact that they did eliminate that and they aren't giving people a reason as to why is just it's just really, really weird. Plus, on top of that, I know that have you guys seen the Pokevision
Of
website
course.
and things like
Yeah.
that?
They've been killing off the third-party tracking,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. They've completely killed
Cease and desist.
Pokevision's.
Cease and desist.
Pokevision's servers are now completely down, which I don't understand. Like, I would understand if it was maybe like hurting their sales or something like that, but you would think that something like that would only prompt people to want to go play even more. And I don't understand. If it's not directly harming your product, then why would you be forcing people to shut down their servers or their sites or whatever they're doing to try to figure out where the Pokemon are? I don't get it.
It's one thing to guard the API. It's another thing entirely to send cease and desist letters because you think they're cheating. I think that to put the cheating word next to things like Pokevision is so short-sighted when you don't have a way to track the Pokemon in the app. When that functionality is not working, that's why people are seeing things like Pokevision as viable alternatives.
Yes.
And to have something not work and remove it entirely is okay, as long as they can fix it. I don't know what format or platform you guys play on, but on iOS, they also took out the battery saver functionality.
They did, yeah, that's right.
Because a lot of people reported that as causes of crashes. So again, if it's not working, take it out entirely. It's very strange, and the lack of communication from Niantic about this is very perplexing, and it's not a good way to build the community. We talk about building community with features like trading and battling, but to not be able to communicate these things in a good manner, in a way that respects the players, that's what's also going to shrivel this community at a faster rate.
The group of people that I typically play with, we have a group message, and when the new update came out yesterday, we all started talking about it, and we've been trying to figure out for a while now whether we think the game's going to have legs in the next couple months, especially you would think when like people like myself would go back to college and we're wandering around college campuses.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so yesterday after this update came out, one of my friends was like, well, now that they're kind of screwing themselves over and screwing us over as the players, like, do you guys think this is going to have legs now? Do you think this is going to last? And the consensus among most of my friends is like, I mean, I like playing it, but if they keep doing stuff like this, I'm gonna be out soon because this is just really annoying that they're removing things and then they aren't even being upfront and telling people what their plans are going ahead. Like, we know, it's part of they're shooting themselves in the foot.
I know Peter said he didn't expect, and same with myself. I didn't expect this game to be this big and to reach as many people.
And I think that's one of the problems.
And I don't think Niantic expected it either.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is I know Peter said you feel like they released it too soon. I feel like it's also got to be incredibly overwhelming on Niantic that this has blown up to being bigger than Twitter within a week of its release. Like, it is now, people who had no idea what Pokemon was are now playing this game, and it's like, I mean, if you're creating that game, you know Pokemon's a huge brand. You know it's going to be on mobile devices, which everybody has. Like, you can expect for it to be big. But I did not hear I brought this up on the show a couple weeks ago. I didn't hear anybody talking about it other than me and my other friends who were in the know about it because we're gamers and we know about these things that are coming out. Nobody within the public conscious, like just the casual person who owns an iPhone, I didn't think knew about this game. And the fact that it got as big as it did within a 4 or 5 day span, I think, is probably incredibly overwhelming on them. So I give Niantic a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, but yeah, the removing of functions completely from the game is just stupid. Like, I don't understand that part of it.
I can also understand people defending them, saying that, oh, they have a small team. They can only do so much, especially with the updates. It's only 20 people on the team. Okay, sure, I think that only goes so far, though. But when you're making as much money, when you're saying, you know, so many millions of dollars per day, hire a PR person. It's not difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're raking in the money right now. This is the time where you'd think they'd be hiring so that they can then expand the game's base and try to opportunize on this cultural phenomenon that has landed in their laps. So
I want to put a pin in this in case it happens for future stuff. I saw someone today talking about like, oh, Niantic is trying to get bigger because they want to make a Harry Potter game like this.
I heard that as well.
And so like, I'm just putting a pin in it in case it comes true. Like, we were hearing the rumblings, but I doubt it. But you know, I doubt it. But if there's any intellectual property that could be on the big scale like Pokemon, yeah, sure, Harry Potter would be something like that.
Harry
but I don't know how
you came out or book. I should say script. Script came out today.
Yes, the script of the Cursed Child play. Yeah, that's right.
But Did you guys like 30 minutes before the show? I didn't really add it into the list about Pokemon Go. Apparently, because of this patch, players are now requesting refunds for their in-app purchases.
Oh, shut up.
That's
Go away.
Sorry,
I haven't spent
dumb.
I haven't spent a cent on this game, and I'm like level 17, and
I
I'm
know,
enjoying
you
it.
can.
Like, just go away. If you've spent your money on it, that's your fault.
I spent $1 today to get 20 Pokeballs because I ran out and we were doing a big run in a downtown city, and like because I came across a Poliwag and everyone's like, "Hey, Poliwag!" I'm like, "I don't have Poliwag." Okay, I'll spend $1. Like, but
But
it's all
hey,
it's
if
all
you report it, you
moderation.
get your dollar back.
It's all in moderation. You have to be responsible. Yeah, people if they want refunds, then they're irresponsible, and you got to chalk it up to that.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny to hear people requesting refunds for a a free-to-play game.
A free-to-play game, yeah.
I was gonna say
It's also
pay-to-play.
like the same people like on Xbox Live when they don't safeguard their account, and then their kid goes on and buys tons of DLC things, and yeah, it's like the same thing. It's
silly people.
Max, before we transition to the second half of the show and the topics, did you want to mention very quickly this Yacht Club localization story that I think you're going to include in the show notes for people who may be interested?
I did want to, and I will do that. Yacht Club Games over the course of the week, they put out this interesting blog post essentially about the localization process for putting Shovel Knight out in Japan, and I just thought it was a super interesting read. It's focused a little on the history of how games were localized from Japan to the West and how games from the West were localized to Japan. And then they show off what they did in Shovel Knight to kind of respect that tradition and then make it work functionally over in Japan for everyone. I thought it was a really interesting read. It's just short. It shows some cool comparisons of old NES games, and then it shows you Yacht Club is really good at including GIFs in their blog post, and there's some cool GIFs between the differences of the Shovel Knight games. Like they animated a fountain in Town Square, or they changed sprites, and they like the grass, just all these tiny things you would never think of, and they all mean something to make this game a little more special in Japan. And I think that's just Yacht Club's how in touch they are with that classic NES vibe and feel. Like they've really captured it, even to the point of it locally in Japan. It's a really cool read.
Yeah, go learn something about the NES's limitations and what they had to deal with. I mean, it's fascinating. You're right on a Shovel Knight front, but also a historical read. It's fantastic.
It's something I haven't looked at yet, but yeah, I took a skim through the article before the show started. If I get a chance, I'm definitely going to read it.
The one thing, even if you don't like Shovel Knight, go in here because they've embedded a YouTube video. There was, I don't remember specifically which Castlevania game, but there's a Castlevania game that in Japan used the disc system, I believe. Now I gotta double check this so I don't sound like an idiot. There was basically an extra sound chip in the Japanese Famicom, and so the music is way better in the Japanese version of this Castlevania game. What is it? It's Castlevania 3. So it was on the. Yeah, it was on the disc system. So its sound is just way better. It had way better music. And so just listen to that video so you can hear that. They didn't change the music for Shovel Knight because it's already perfect. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. I thought I'd share that with the people.
Yeah, for sure. We'll, like I said, we'll include that article in the show notes. So if you do want to go take a look at it, feel free. I will probably be doing the same thing because it does sound like an interesting read. It does sound like something I would like to take a look at. Until then, we're going to take a quick break here. We will be back in just a few moments, and we will have some topics coming up, maybe where we talk about what our favorite games of the year are so far. So please come back in a couple minutes, and we'll talk about that. Cool. Max, you know where our timestamp's at. I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick, and then I also want to take a quick look at my shelf and make sure I'm not forgetting anything that has come out this year that I haven't thought about that I may like.
Okay.
So
there's digital games too, don't forget those. But
yeah, I'm trying to think of those as well. So I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Go to 2016 in video gaming on Wikipedia.
all the That's a good spot. I wrote down some games I've played this year. In the note, so I've kind of got my list on the side here. The thank you for coming on the show, Peter.
Oh, of course. It's fun.
You-
I'm enjoying the discussion.
You're the best.
Oh, thank you.
One day when you come down to Florida for
Mhm.
work, we will meet.
Yeah. Yeah, if we do, it's usually to like the Orlando area.
Yeah, which is right where I am. So
Perfect.
you won't. I'm not out in the middle of nowhere in Florida.
Okay. 'Cause, yeah, you're at CFU
UCF.
Central. Oh, UCF. Yes, that is the abbreviation for Central Florida. I'm a dumbass. Don't mind me.
It's okay. Also, congratulations to you and your wife. 1 year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's big. You know, she's still getting adjusted
I
to some
remember
things here in
like
America.
following her journey to come to America and
Mhm.
become. I thought so. Congrats.
Thank you. It's quite the story. It makes for a great story. Yeah, and it's
I love it.
no, it's wonderful. Very happy. So that's sweet of you. Thank you.
Have you? I have to be honest with you about Persona 4.
Mhm.
I haven't touched it in a while.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you seemed to be enjoying it when you were.
I was, and I think my biggest problem is those dungeons.
Yeah.
Just you can't save in them, so I feel
Mhm.
like I have to commit this whole chunk. Like all right, I'm doing a dungeon today, and that's all I do that day.
So here's the thing with that. I may have mentioned. I think we talked a bit about it. What difficulty are you playing on?
I've done. I'm not safety. I'm now on easy.
Okay.
So like
'Cause-
it's not hard. It's just they're so long, and
Mhm.
since they're randomly generated, which is fine. It's just
Yeah,
that's
the
my
Persona
stumbling
games
block.
are just notoriously difficult, and
Yeah.
a lot of people. I mean, to just randomly die from an enemy, especially in that kind of dungeon setup, is so frustrating that it's just not worth it.
And I just saved Is it Reese? Rise?
Rise, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I just saved her, so that's where I am in the story.
Okay. That's
Um,
a fun dungeon.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting dungeon. I didn't
Yeah.
think it could get more interesting than I'm blanking on his name now. Who's Troy
Kanji?
Baker's character?
Kanji, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, this can't get any more interesting, and then you get to her. I was like, oh.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the really fun thing about Persona 4 is like how they treat Kanji's character, and there's another character that is similar sort of circumstances where like
Is
they
it the
really
mysterious
handle-
guy Connie was hanging out with?
Yes, the detective.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
next person I save, right?
What is
Or
what's
am I
the
done
order of that?
saving people in dungeons?
No,
and
no,
now
no.
I'm...
You definitely have more to save.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of the order. I think that detective is next.
I think so. I want to figure out who this
Oh
murderer
no,
is.
I'm sorry. That's not right.
Okay.
Chigago, that's not right. I think there's one other in the middle. I'm blanking.
I don't know.
It's a long game though. It's
It
definitely
is, and
a
I
long
want to finish it to decide if I really want to dig into Persona 5.
game. Okay, I'm
I know
so
you're all excited. That music,
excited.
that
Oh my
music.
Mhm.
I have the special edition pre-ordered just in case, because it's not even that expensive. It's $80 or something. You get all this cool stuff.
It's a really good special collector's edition. Yeah.
But I'm ready for it, but we'll see. We'll see if I commit.
Mhm.
I think I'm good to go. I can't think of. I feel like there's some digital games I may have liked this year that I can't think of.
Yeah, give me like a minute or two. I'm still looking through list on Wikipedia of 2016 video gaming just to see if anything else is.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I think this year sucked personally.
It's been a weak year. The latter half's going to be strong, but there's not too much that's standing out.
There's been some good DLC.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bark.
Did either of you try the preview for We Happy Few on Xbox?
No.
Not yet.
I'm wanting to.
See, what I've
I'm
heard
actually
of that is that with its roguelike elements, how it applies to items, people aren't getting the necessary item drops because of the randomness. And like that's
Yeah, no. So I did the prologue, which is basically the event from. It's actually not even that much gameplay, but the thing they showed at E3.
Yeah.
That's the prologue. So I did that,
Okay.
and then I ended up. You start the game in like this room, and you have to get out of the room, and you have to get a crowbar. You have to make.
Wait, did you actually download it, or is this all the demo?
Downloaded it, the preview.
Early access.
Yeah,
so
you
you
can
did pay
down-
the 30. You did pay the $30.
No,
Okay.
no. You
Oh.
can play it for free for about 45 minutes.
Okay, that's what I was. So it is
Interesting.
pretty much a demo.
So it's a
story.
demo, and then if you want to pay the $30, you can keep playing it, and
Okay.
then you'll get the game when it finally launches. But you start the game in a room, and you have to make a crowbar, and there's different items you can grab. But I didn't really understand the item management system, so I guess I built a crowbar or grabbed one, and I accidentally dropped it instead of taking it out of my inventory to equip it, and then it
I'm
just
gonna go put my dog up. I'm sick of her barking. I'll
and
be
I
right
couldn't
back.
find this crowbar anywhere, and I didn't have enough metal to make another one, and there was no other things to
See,
like,
yeah, that's
scour,
a problem.
and so I was like, well, I'm done with this game until it's done.
That's a problem.
Yeah, the mood and the setting and theme and all that stuff is really interesting, but it does look a little dated graphically, especially the hands of your character.
Oh, interesting.
You should try it out, especially since it's just free to. It's only 2 gigs. You boot it up and try it out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But-
I really liked how it was presented because I had heard of it. I followed Jim Sterling a lot, and I knew that he was voicing in this game called We Happy Few. But a couple of years ago, like, yeah, it wasn't too much, and to have it be so Bioshock-like, that was really appealing at E3.
I still can't figure out. I assume we're still talking about We Happy Few. I still can't figure out why it is early access. Like that's what's thrown me off about the whole thing. Why don't you just, considering the kind of game it is, you think they'd just release it when it's done? I don't know. It's really confusing to me that it is an early access game.
I think it's because they wanted those roguelike, randomly generated elements in it, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. Is that they're still trying to fine tune a couple things, and they wanted to release it because they needed kind of to get some feedback from the community before they did a full release.
And apparently it was a Kickstarter game.
It was a Kickstarter. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, this is kind of like the toy box equivalent of Ukulele for We Happy Few. Apparently the toy box is very good.
Yeah, I've heard really great things. I cannot wait.
Ukulele is going to be a blast.
It's gonna be so
Well,
good.
I hope it is. Everyone thought Mighty Number 9 was going to be a blast.
Yeah,
And
it'll be amazing, Max. Trust
Oh
me.
no! I mean, yeah, they thought it was, but once the demo started coming out, the writing was on the
Ooh.
wall for that one.
Yeah, we've
My-
heard bad things about Mighty Number 9 for like I feel like a year now.
My friend Landon, he's 13, Peter, but so he's a kid and he's played Mega Man 2 and 3 and he likes them. He bought Mighty Number 9 and he loves it. And it's
Really?
just that it's that young, he doesn't get it how the game looks so bad and it doesn't run. He's like, it does take forever to load. And I was like, yeah, it does. The game is garbage. It's not
Yeah.
optimized and it looks ugly. He's like, it's also impossible to get a A+ rating on levels. I was like, that's because
It's
you're
bad
probably
games.
not playing it right. But
Yeah.
he showed it to me the other day. I was like, I wouldn't pay for this. This
That's
is
so
rough.
sad.
It's that young. I still have SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom on GameCube, and I love that game. And I bet if I boot it up, it's a pile of garbage.
There's some good guilty pleasure games. Like I like Red Steel for Wii. It's a terrible game, but man, I like it.
There was a game on PS2 I rented with my friend one time. It's called Samurai Western. His mom let us rent it. It was rated M. Oh my gosh, it's such a bad game. You're just a samurai chopping people up and blood splattered everywhere. And there's just these games in my head. I'm like, oh, those were good, and then you look back, and you're like, no, they weren't. Good times,
All
good.
right, ready to get back
I
into
think
it?
I think I'm about ready to get going here. Let me finish
I was
skimming
born
through
ready.
here. I don't think I've missed anything. Max, I'm going to command that you don't talk about Uncharted 4 in our favorite games of the year segment. Because that is an obvious choice.
I'll talk about it. It's okay.
I was going to say,
Oh.
you can talk about it, Peter.
Why
but,
can't I talk about Uncharted 4 as a game of the year contender?
Because it's my stipulation for you as the host.
But it's one of
not
my
going to-
4 games.
because it's going to be the hands down game of the year.
Thank you.
Because we've heard you run your mouth about it enough. So
I wasn't
I'm
going to
ready
talk about the game, but it is one of my 4 listed.
Um,
You can't rob me of that. It's a game of the year contender. I can say so. And so can Peter. Peter, did you like
Mhm.
Uncharted 4 better than Uncharted 2 or 3?
Overall, yes.
Thank you. Okay, continue. We can start the
Okay.
show.
I
All
could
right,
I could expand upon that, but I'll say overall yes.
It's not better than 2. I still stand by that.
To each their own.
I'm weird and I like 3 more than 2.
3 is better than 2. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, Max played the games out of order, though. Did you play
I
them
did
as
not.
they came out?
Yeah.
I didn't play it. Whoa, whoa,
Or,
whoa,
I mean,
whoa.
you
I did
played
not play them
played
out of
them
order.
all within, like, you played them all after they were already out.
Yes.
2 stands out in my mind because of that leap from 1 to 2 was like, oh my gosh, this isn't even
Yeah.
the same game.
I got my PS3 in 2011, so 1 and 2 are already out. They were the first games I got for it, but then
Okay.
I played 3, a few months after them when it came out on 11.
Okay.
I got my PS3 in 2011 as well, and I got the Uncharted 3 bundle. So
Okay.
I got Uncharted 3 with it, and then I borrowed 1 from someone, and I went out and bought 2, and then I played 3.
I'm good to go, if you guys are.
All right.
Yep.
We'll
let's
do
clap.
3, 2, 1, clappy clap, and then we'll get going.
Yeah.
Get the clappy claps.
120.
Whose topic should we start with? Peter, do you
end
think
with-
we should?
end with-
Do you think we should start with yours or end with yours, or
End with
since we don't know what it is,
You pick.
End with mine. I think.
you want to end with yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
it kind of-
Game of the year discussion first, then.
Sounds
It's
good.
not entirely game related, so we'll keep the game conversation going and then kind of.
That sounds good.
I like
it. At the end of the episode, Max, I'm also going to mention just our early plans for whatever we're doing next,
Lay it
whatever
on the
that
people.
turns into. So
Oh, speaking of which, we'll talk about it tonight. I have other
we'll
ideas.
talk about that. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's get going back here. We're gonna restart in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to episode 52 of Millennial Gaming Speak, everybody. I am still joined by Max and Peter. So, as we get into our topics this week, I think this first one is one that I know Max and myself have been talking outside of the show about for a couple weeks now. Typically, when we get to about the halfway point of the year, we like to look back through the first 6 months and decide what our favorite game of the year so far is. We have had some weird topics the past couple weeks, so we haven't had the opportunity to do this yet. We're almost through July, so we're going to do that this week and take a look back through the past, I guess, 7 months now and figure out what our favorite
day of
game
July.
of the year 2016 is so far. So I think there's some obvious choices up front that we all have to choose from.
Uncharted 4.
Yeah, Max has been a
correct
very
answer.
big proponent of Uncharted 4 for many
Which-
reasons over the past couple episodes in particular.
Uncharted 4 is the best game so far this year.
So that's the obvious pick. I don't know if that's my pick personally. If
Crazy
you
kid.
guys, do you guys want to say? I mean, do you guys want to say anything about it? Like, is there anything left to say about Uncharted 4 at this point?
Uncharted 4 is a goddamn masterpiece. It could not be done any better with the vision of Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley. The acting is on point. It is cinematic gaming at its finest in 2016 that pushes the boundaries of the PlayStation 4. Get this Neo stuff out of here. This is the best looking console game ever made. It tells a story that conclusively wraps up Nathan Drake's story, and that's all we really could have asked for. I don't think.
I mean, we could have asked for a little bit better gameplay, but maybe that's just me on that one.
I think the gameplay could have been. Yeah, they did borrow a lot from The Last of Us, of course, and for good and bad things. I mean, it was good to have the environmental storytelling of The Last of Us in Uncharted. I really appreciated that, especially in things like the manor. We'll just say the manor. That was terrific. That was one of the best chapters of the whole game. But overall, Uncharted 4 didn't have the big highs and moments, I think, compared to memorable moments of 2 and 3. But overall, the experience was so finely tuned that I don't think any other studio can touch Naughty Dog. I think
No
the best
other
game
studio could make
studios-
that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Naughty Dog, Rockstar, and as far as some gameplay elements, Nintendo, but like those are like the best game studios in the world, and Naughty Dog is unparalleled in what they do with Uncharted. I think that is going to be one of the clear runaway favorites for Game of the Year this year, but I would love to talk about some others.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
don't worry, guys. We get Uncharted 4 DLC sometime this year too.
I don't know.
Actually, they haven't said this
They never
year.
confirmed that ever.
No, you're right, but we do get the story DLC, and they'll
I'd
probably
watch
reveal
for
it
it
at
at,
PSX.
Either PSX or Game Awards. Yeah, we'll get an announcement at one of the two.
We'll get some
Ooh.
sort of quick trailer, I think.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
maybe
something just to give us the
60
premise.
seconds.
And it'll be out in the
Um,
middle of next year, probably.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
if I
Ooh.
just- it should be good. Yeah, I still personally just I don't know. I didn't think I felt like the gameplay of yeah, we don't need to talk about it anymore. I just felt like the
Even though,
gameplay
yeah,
of
okay,
Uncharted
even if
started to
it's
get stale.
yeah, even if it's a little substandard to the previous games, if that's what you think, it's still.
I still agree with you.
So many of them.
Cinematically,
Yeah.
cinematically and story-wise, though, there's probably not many games that are better than Uncharted 4, and I will give you that for sure. So what else besides that? What else has been out? Because we were talking about before we went back on the air. I feel like this has been an incredibly weak year so far. There's nothing that stands out to me, really, out of this whole selection of games. Obviously, Uncharted 4, that's the big one we talked about first. But other than that, I feel like it's just been a bunch of good games that like don't really stand out a lot.
The one other game that you're going to see a lot of arguments for Game of the Year is going to be Overwatch, and they're
Yes.
totally different games entirely because it's multiplayer focused. You're playing the same kind of things over and over again, but Blizzard has done a fine job with balancing the characters, creating an environment that people love to play and keep going back to, and they're extending the life of the character. They had Anna just released as a new character, so. People are really, really enjoying that game. I think that's another one you're going to see on a lot of lists at the end of the year. But it's really, I guess, it's a matter of what.
I like it a lot. It's on my list.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
really
it's on
just
my
a
short
matter of
list as well.
It's what you play games for. What brings you to video games? And I don't play games for the repeated multiplayer stuff. I go for the engrossing story experiences. So that's where Uncharted I lean towards a little more. But yeah, you're going to see Uncharted and Overwatch are the two clear front runners in the first half of the year. I think other ones you could point out are Ratchet and Clank and Division. Those are
Division I completely forgot about.
Yeah, those are going to be two really strong ones. I think if you're talking about games so far this year, if I'm talking about my favorites, I really liked Zero Time Dilemma. From the Zero Shape
okay,
series.
so you're one of those folks.
I'm one of those people. But
that whole launch was pretty botched, wasn't it? Like the launch of the game.
It was terrible.
Did you ever get your collector's edition?
No, I have not received the watch yet. They sent the game separately, delayed, and I went and bought the Vita version on launch day because the 3DS version wasn't delivered through Amazon, and they sent the game on the Friday of that week, so a few days late, and they haven't sent the watch even though they say it's coming. Yeah, terribly botched. The game doesn't really hold up to the pedigree that Virtue's Last Reward sort of set, but again, that's another good wrap up of a trilogy. Happy with it. It's not going to be on Game of the Year lists, but I personally am really happy with it, and that's just a series that means a lot to me. So that's more of a personal choice.
I have Virtue's Last Reward loaded on my Vita. That was because I played 999 on my phone, and by played I mean I read it, because you kind of just read and then make the choices.
And I think it's a okay way to experience it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I could tell there's probably more there if I actually had the DS game.
Yeah, because the room escape puzzles, which that's really the gameplay of those games in particular, is you're escaping a locked room and there are puzzles and all sorts involved. But yeah, in that iOS version, which I did experience as well, it's basically like, all right, we're gonna escape this room. And so they escape the room, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna make that jump. But yeah, the story was perfectly intact, and it's a good story. But yeah, no, I'm partial to Zero Escape, but yeah, it's overall a week.
Aren't they remastering it for PC?
Yes, they will. So wait for that one if you want to get into that series.
Yeah.
I think on Amazon they had a pack of like the first 3 games, I want to say, around when Zero Time Dilemma came out, and I think it was pretty cheap. So I don't know if it is still cheap or not, but you may want to go check that out if you are interested. I know PlayStation Insider, the website I write for, whoever reviewed that game when it came out gave it a 10, and they said it's the only 10 they've ever given a game ever.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I had some scruples with some of the limitations that they had with the team, and they only announced it a year ago last year. It was at Anime Expo at the beginning of July, so the turnaround was really quick. I loved what they did with the narrative. There's some things that some serious fans thought they maybe jumped the shark a little bit, but I loved it. But there were some aspects that they kind of struggled a little bit with it. When I reviewed it for a friend's website, I gave it an 8. So like it's still a good.
That sounds about right. That sounds about in line with what most other people gave it. I think the person who reviewed it for us, like, they felt like they had a serious connection to that story and those characters, and I guess it was like a perfect payoff to them. So
yeah, I agree with that aspect, but I could not overlook some of the detractions. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
for sure. So that would be on your short. Do you have any other games on your short list? We'll just go person by person here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say Uncharted 4 at the top. I'll say Overwatch for just the game critic aspect. I haven't played it, but like understanding the game industry.
You know when a game is good, and
I would put that at number 2. At number 3, I would put Ratchet and Clank. Like that seems to be a really strong PlayStation exclusive, and like it. The movie may have not fared so well, but the game seems to be a terrific deal, especially at starting at the $40 price.
$40. My only problem with Ratchet and Clank is that dumb trophy where you have to make everyone dance. It's the only thing standing between me and the platinum, and I
never had a problem with that like you did.
I don't know what I'm missing, and it's completely frustrating.
User error, like the Tomb Raider game. Error.
No, I went through the list. I did the obvious ones I missed, like the tentacles and stuff. I'm missing one thing. I used it on every boss. I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing. It's a me thing for sure. I'm missing something. It's not the game's broken. I can't figure out what I want that platinum. I'm robbed of it.
And then I'd put Zero Time Dilemma on my list because it's a personal thing, but like it wouldn't go on any Game of the Year list.
Okay.
I've heard, yeah. I mean, as far as portable games go, I've heard it's got to be right up there. Yeah. Also considering, I guess Fire Emblem's come out this year as well, so I guess that would be the other notable portable game so far this year.
Oh wow! See, like I started that, and I know so many people who dug way deep into that game.
Yeah.
Like, that's also another good one. I'd say Fire Emblem Fates would be also up there.
Max, what's on your list besides the obvious Uncharted 4? I would guess Overwatch is on your list as well. You said
Uncharted and Overwatch are on my little short list. I don't have them really in an order. I mean, obviously,
I don't either.
The show or know me, Uncharted 4 would be number 1. Another game on my list is Inside from Playdead.
I forgot about that. Yes, there is a downloadable game.
How did you forget that, Logan? You were freaking out about that game.
I don't know.
A week or so ago. Inside. You heard me talk about it on Top 10 Favorite Games of All Time. That is a wonderful game. It's so meticulously crafted. Everything is there for a reason. It's a real gem. I highly encourage it.
I don't think I've talked about it since I beat it, but it's one of the few games where I liked it more the more I thought about it after I beat it, the more I think I liked it because of I was still thinking about that game 4 or 5 days after I beat it and trying to think of all the intricacies with it and the story and what's going on in that world. They've crafted such an interesting world in that game that it really is. It's not like anything else. I like it. I like it more than Limbo for sure. There's a lot going on in that game. It's very strange how they string the story together, but there is a good payoff at the end of the game that I personally really liked. I know some people didn't, but I thought that's for sure one of the better games this year. If you had,
I can't wait to play it. I can't believe I missed that. Yeah, Inside seems terrific.
I highly recommend it. The only other game I really had on my list, I know I've played some other games this year, but the only other one was Firewatch.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that game's
Firewatch is a game I've had an itch to go back and play. That game has some heart, man. It's the way they've tied those conversations. It's the most natural sounding choice-based game I've ever played. I think the art style is great from Ollie Moss. Sure, it had some technical difficulties, especially on PS4, where it would chug a little bit in some areas as far as frame rate. But I think the story and that narrative payoff was really... I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was great. Firewatch is definitely something I would put up there as a contender.
Did you see the Ford marketing bit that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So bad. I work at Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, so when I saw that as Ford, it's like
sucks to suck, Ford.
Yeah.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum with Firewatch. The more distance I get between myself and that game, I think the less I like it. The ending rubbed me the wrong way the more I think about it. I didn't feel like there was narrative payoff there. I get tired of the similar in the vein of Gone Home, where they like build the story up to this point and then it's like, nope, bait and switch. The story's actually about this, not about this. And
I don't think Gone Home did a bait and switch.
Kind of. I mean, with the whole, there's ghosts and demons in this house. Just kidding. It's
I never.
Chicks in Love or something like that.
I never thought it was about ghosts in the house.
I definitely got a spooks sort of feel.
Yeah,
when I started,
did too.
I didn't. When I started the game, I was like, I turned the lights on in every room before I'd go anywhere. But I never
I
was.
thought someone
I
was going
never.
to be murdered in the attic, to be
Yep,
honest.
that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too.
Oh, no. Once I realized nothing was gonna jump out at me, that's when I was like, oh, okay, let's just do the story. I never thought it
And,
did bait and switch.
and I'm sorry if you're going to complain about spoilers. Like, you had your chance with Gone Home. I'm sorry.
Especially when it was a free PS Plus game last month.
Yeah,
You had
come
your
on.
you had your
Come on.
shot. Sorry.
It takes 2 hours. Like, get over it.
Um,
I agree.
but Firewatch I thought had a very human ending, and I think that's part of it what was going for.
Yeah,
I
it was definitely
really
grounded in realism. But sometimes I wish these games that like start acting like there's something supernatural going on actually then had something crazy happen. I would really enjoy
Well,
that. Like,
okay, yeah, but Firewatch never had anything supernatural.
kind of. I mean, there was the whole
No.
part with I mean, not like aliens or anything like that, but there was like, is somebody spying on us? What's going on? What's in this tent? Who just burnt down this place? Like, there was a bunch of crazy things going on. And I guess in the end it made sense with what was happening, but it seemed like you were a part of some huge conspiracy that was happening in that middle of Wyoming or whatever. You didn't really know what was going on. And then, I mean, obviously it all kind of makes sense at the end, but I don't know. I would have liked to see something weird happen with that game because it was. I was getting some strange vibes from it, at least.
Well, I definitely would put Firewatch on my list. What about you, Logan?
As far as I go, let me see. I think another notable one. I know Peter was mentioning games that he thinks will get critical acclaim towards the end of the year. This is less of me because I got burnt out with it probably about 15 to 20 hours in, but I think The Witness is definitely going to be up there.
Yeah.
Ooh, I missed that one.
It's a good pick.
That game, I've talked about it many times. That game physically made me exhausted to the point where I just had to stop playing it because it was like hurting me the longer I would play it. So it's a great game though. I love everything that's doing there. From a purely like construction standpoint of how that game is put together, it is masterfully crafted, and I don't know if there's many other games better than that from a design standpoint. Other than that, we've mentioned a lot of them, and like I said, all of these games that I'm probably going to mention through here, they're all good games, but I don't think any of them are phenomenal by any means. Doom, I think, is worth a shout out.
Yes.
I played that in one day. I just rented it from a Redbox, had nothing else to do. It was a really fun Saturday I had, but I haven't really thought about it since then.
What a killer soundtrack. Mick Gordon, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes from Killer Instinct and just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, the soundtrack to that game is fantastic, like just like it is in all of the other Doom games. The most recent Lego game, Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I really enjoyed. I think it's the best Lego game that has come out in years, personally.
I've only played the first level because Abby and I are playing it co-op, and every time she comes over, she doesn't want to play Lego Star Wars. She's had an itch to play more Uncharted 4 though, so I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Play it yourself. It's really fun. Like I think
I know. I don't want to leave her in the dust. We started it together. We should finish it together, kind of thing.
You're right, Max. You're right.
You could always
Thank
create
you.
a second save file.
I can't. No, she wouldn't know.
Dark Souls 3 I put on my list because I know it's a big release. Like I said, I haven't got around to playing it yet. I'm very much looking forward to it. I know it's kind of more of the same thing at this point.
Did you get it on
that's
PS4 or
definitely gonna-
Xbox?
I got it on PS4.
I would say a lot of people would say PC. I know my wife got on PC. That's going to be on a lot of. big
That'll be on a
lists,
lot of
you're
lists,
right.
but that's
Yeah.
like I don't think that's anything that's going to take the cake by years in.
Yeah.
But it is for the people who are fans of the genre. For people who do like that game though, it'll definitely
Fans
be
of
on
the
the
genre of being beat to death
It's
multiple
the
times.
Dark Souls of Dark Souls.
list. Yeah. Also, getting into a little bit more of the weeds with this one, I think MLB The Show this year was specifically strong. As somebody who does play them every year, this year's entry is great, and I found myself going. What?
You play them every year?
I think for like 3 years straight now I have. 3 or 4 years straight now.
I thought you were like a skip a year kind of person.
I liked what I
Sometimes.
played last year, so it's good to hear that this one was better.
This year I thought was a lot better. They had a lot more modes that kept me coming back to the game months after months, and I really liked how they constructed some of the Ultimate Team modes with the player cards and things like that. I've enjoyed coming back to it. I also enjoyed getting everybody's PlayStation Experience codes who didn't want them, so I had packs upon packs upon packs flying in.
Yeah.
So that was fun. It's really good. I like playing it online against people. It's a really good game. I think it's the best one that they've come up with probably since I started playing the series, which
It's a sport. It's a game of your sports type of thing.
yeah, it's for sure the
We'll see
best
how
sports
Madden
game that's come
stacks
out
up
this year.
in NBA 2K.
I'm excited for Madden this year. I want it to be good. It's been a long time since I've bought
There's been
I
a
was
good
I
I was
Madden.
wanna
pretty
buy it
happy
this
with
year.
Madden last year, honestly, because I feel like they finally changed some of the receiving controls. I don't really know what they're changing this year, but last year I was happy with what I played. I never bought it, but I played it at a friend's house a bunch, and I think it was one of the better experiences that's come out in a while. So they're getting Madden's getting really good. They haven't.
And I go way back with NHL, and it needs to be back to that NHL pedigree. It needs to be good this year.
NHL has been kind of messing up recently, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Also of note is one I remembered at the last second. Quantum Break was really,
Yeah.
I thought,
Oh.
thoroughly enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I
I've
keep
yet to
seeing it
play
on
it.
sale, and it's not at that sweet spot for me yet. Like,
I couldn't remember if you had played it or not yet, Max. I definitely think it's something you should dive into at some point. The story alone, I think, is worth it.
the only Xbox games I've played this year are Inside, Lego Star Wars, Overwatch, and then I bought the Master Chief Collection for $10.
That's a good
Which
deal for it.
Yeah, but I did have a 20 gig patch to install, so.
Well, yeah. Just
Yeah,
imagine doing that on day one, and then it still doesn't work.
I think when Quantum Break gets to around $20, I would definitely suggest grabbing it, Max. I really enjoyed that game. I played through it in
I
about
think it'll be good.
but it's a lot of fun. It's one of the better, similar to Uncharted 4, where it's like a confined experience, and once you beat it, you've kind of seen most of what it has to offer. That's similar with Quantum Break. You can definitely go back to it and there's a couple of different decisions you can make along the way to see how it affects the game, but overall, I think that and Uncharted 4 are two of the better cinematic experiences of the year, and they really stand on their own as like just great campaigns. The last one I wanted to mention, and honestly would be very high on my list, and this is kind of strange to say, and we talked about it earlier, but Pokemon Go, honestly, it's not a good game, but what it has done socially is what I commend it for. Like I have loved playing this game around hundreds or thousands of other people. Like I went downtown last week to the canal in Indianapolis, and there was an event going on down there that I had no idea about, and there was literally thousands of people downtown playing this game all at one point. And that was just really cool to see. Like again, I've talked about it on the show. I don't think it's a good game, but what it has done socially is just so fascinating to me, and I've loved seeing it grow to the point where it's at now. And whether it has legs or not, we'll find out as time goes on. You would think it will, but Niantic really has to get their stuff together and really not screw up this game.
When you see videos of people running in Central Park to go get a Vaporeon or whatever they claimed it was, that's a special thing in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I would put it up there, because I haven't seen anything happen like this in forever, honestly. Like I've never seen something like this take hold of the entire country in the way that this game has in ever. Like I've never seen it to this degree. So it's been fun to watch. I hope it gets better from a gameplay perspective. I guess we'll find out if they ever do add things like trades and battling, but we'll see. I've enjoyed it so far as just a passive experience.
Another game just popped in my head really quickly. Severed.
Yeah.
Severed, yeah, that was fun.
Severed. It was a really fun game. The reason I was reminded is it came out on iOS the other day.
Oh, that's right.
That's true. Yeah, I did remember that.
But I thought that game was really fun. Like it was a nice comfy game to play on my Vita.
Mm-hmm. The rest of the year is going to be interesting. I mean, you have games like No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy 15, Gears of War
South
4, South Park, Last Guardian, Watch Dogs 2, Battlefield
Last
1,
Guardian.
Titanfall
Goodness,
2.
is it fine? It's that and Final Fantasy 15 are finally coming out.
Yeah. So
Don't worry.
It's going to be an
Kingdom
interesting
Hearts 3
second
is
half of the year.
still in production.
You got the 2.8.
Final chapter prologue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
fill in the blanks there. I think that's the one I'm going to skip out on. I'll watch.
But see, that's. I know it's fatigue, but it has the ground zeros of equivalent of Kingdom Hearts 3 in it, and
I'll watch it. I'll watch it on YouTube.
That's the part I'm excited about.
To you, they're all vital to the story.
Oh, they are. I got my little shelf right here with them all boxed up. I have all the players' guides finally collected. Well, I'm missing 2 collector's ones, but I have the core set. Anyway.
Very nice.
So I think the obvious. I think the easy front runners right now are probably Overwatch and Uncharted. Those are the obvious
Yeah.
ones. I would probably put Overwatch at the top of mine for now,
Weirdo.
Okay.
just because I've enjoyed going back to that game more. But
You didn't want to play with me today.
yeah, I know. Well, I got out of the shower at like 2:30, and then I was like, I should probably put the show together.
You got out of the shower at 2:30? Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
lazy Sunday.
Yeah, I think as far as other games go, yeah, watch out for Doom and Inside on a lot of year-end lists. Like those are all the ones that'll fill out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Inside could sneak up to the top of a lot of people's lists, I think. But
It's
yeah,
a winner chicken dinner.
I feel like there's again. We mentioned this. I mentioned this last week at least. Over the next 5 months to end out the year, there's not like one big marquee game that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. There's a bunch of again good games that I think people are excited for, myself included. But there's not like one. My life is now on hold because this game is out type experience coming out. But
The only one I can think of, based off its community, is No Man's Sky, and that's a week away.
Possibly, yeah.
Some people are big for Final Fantasy 15, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah,
for me it's Persona 5 and Mass Effect Andromeda, but those are next year. So.
Yeah. I think Mass Effect's probably the next one that I'm really looking forward to. That and Zelda are the two that I'm really looking forward to, like insane amounts.
Breath of the Wild.
I'm so excited to play Breath of the Wild on a portable. Holy
Right?
crap!
Oh.
Holy crap! I can't wait.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. All right.
Peter has our second topic for this week, and he has not informed us about it, so I have no idea what to tell the audience to expect.
Okay,
So-
so with my getting back into game media, online media sort of thing, I've been trying to find like what I want to do. And so when I came back in about February and I started a show called Tempo Control, and it became this very big production of a lot of elements that became very overwhelming very quickly to do after 7 episodes or so. It was essentially taking top 10 lists of game like soundtracks from a specific game soundtrack. So you'd take the top 10 tracks from each soundtrack, space it out, and then you'd have like game news bits and creative bits sort of intermixed in there. And it was a huge production. It was basically like an hour-long video podcast that was almost like part variety show, part radio show. It was a big, overwhelming production. But now it's kind of distilled to just those top 10 lists. And so I'm really focusing on games and music. So basically it comes down to wondering, what are your favorite game soundtracks from the last year, so 2015,
Okay.
last generation, so Wii, 360, PS3, and then all time. You can think, top 3, but just your favorites. Not necessarily just the critical best. Just what stands out to you. What jumps out. I'll say for last year for me, to give you some time to think, I guess, since I'm springing this on you. I think Undertale was the best game soundtrack of last year.
I've heard a lot about Undertale's soundtrack.
Fantastic. Taking a lot of retro-inspired roots, but really building on motif and melody and kind of going from there. It does take a lot of retro chiptune sort of sounds, but then mixing it with some fuller sounds as well. Undertale was a great game experience overall, but its soundtrack was really up there. I think right behind there for me was Life is Strange. And over on
Logan was just playing that game.
Oh god,
I just finished that this past week.
That game is a great game. Oh man, that was one of the sleepers from last year, I think. On my YouTube channel, Rhymes with Asia, this coming week, so probably when you get this edited version out, I'll be doing like a top 10 list for Life is Strange. Like that's my game in focus this week for that soundtrack. That was a great soundtrack. And then also The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, I would say, kind of wraps out my top 3 from last year. And any other games from last year that really jump out in your mind as far as their soundtracks go?
One pops into my head, and that would be Hotline Miami 2.
Yes,
I mean,
thank
the
you.
original was awesome, and I haven't gotten around to checking out the 2, but yeah, from
Two soundtrack. I like one soundtrack more after listening to both of them quite a bit. But Hotline Miami 2 soundtrack was wonderful. It was so good.
I would mimic that was definitely one of the first ones that popped into my head. I think two's soundtrack is better than one, personally.
Mm,
That's just me.
we can do that. That's fine. Looking at my shelf.
I mean, I have a couple all time, but I'll get to those in a second. Yes, they trying to think
Because
about
there's
last
really
year.
good ones this year that I can
trying
think
to
of,
think
but
of what the big
last year I'm
releases
trying to
from
think of the
last year.
games I played. Tales from the Borderlands?
Yeah.
Holy
Good
cow, those
soundtrack,
intro
yeah.
songs were killer.
Yes, they were.
They were so
yes.
good.
I would
And
Halo
I would
5 Guardians also had a really good soundtrack
Mhm.
for what it's worth. I could throw that one up there as that's another good one from last year.
one that came to my mind in a game that I know I've talked about many times on the show that I love, Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, because
Hmm.
it was all original, but to me it felt like it fit perfectly in the vein of the Star Wars themes that we know and love. And it took me about a week or two of playing before I was like, wait a minute, these aren't even songs from the movies, but they sound
Yeah.
like it. And
They
I
captured the
think
spirit.
they capture the spirit of the movies, and they do it incredibly well, I thought. I know some people had some issues with it, but to me it sounded like a John Williams score, if you ask
Haters
me.
That's
gonna hate.
awesome.
So I liked it.
One other game from last year I can think of that I particularly liked was Batman Arkham Knight.
That was also a good soundtrack.
I thought
yeah.
that was good, and I loved the song in the middle of the game during that particular mission where you're trying to, I think, rescue Robin. Or
Yes.
yes,
Yes, and it's
on the little
very
wheel trying to find the
it's very
bombs.
flamboyant in nature.
Yes. Oh, that song
Yes.
was just so much fun.
That was a good song. I agree. All right, so for last generation, I would say tops for me would be Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Ooh.
Man, it can be a hit and miss game for some people, but a lot of people put that up there as one of their favorite game soundtracks, and it's stellar. So Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, Journey is another very very good one. I mean it won a Grammy for being a game soundtrack, and that's pretty remarkable. And
Awesome
then
entry. He did the soundtrack for Abzu, which is coming out this Tuesday.
yes, he's probably one of my favorite game composers. Yeah,
Mhm.
he
For
did
sure.
a great Assassin's Creed Syndicate soundtrack. That was also excellent last year. But then also Mass Effect 2, I think, is one of my favorite
Yep,
game soundtracks.
that'd be
from
up there
last
for me as
generation.
well.
That's a classic. That's the best one in that trilogy.
That's one of the first ones that comes to my mind as well. Mass Effect 2 is phenomenal in so many ways, and the soundtrack really aids to the story, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, another one from I know the past year that I was thinking of. I know we've kind of made the jump to the last gen, but the Phantom Pain really sticks out in my mind from last year.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely.
I
I mean,
really like the soundtrack to that.
Yeah, not just all of the '80s songs, but the
Yeah,
score.
The actual score.
the actual score is what I was thinking of. Yes. Last gen. Let me think.
Well, not as a cop out, but as an honorable mention, Hotline Miami 1.
Yes.
Just an honorable mention. Journey would definitely be one. I'm in love with Journey. I still listen to it quite a bit. I even have the piano only version of it, the Transfiguration soundtrack he put out.
Apotheosis is so good. That one
It's
track. Yeah.
ooh, it's a winner. Technically, well, I don't know how. No, I guess it's not last. Would Shovel Knight count? It was on PS3.
Nope.
No.
Come on.
Nah.
I don't know. Shovel Knight's is great, but
That's a great soundtrack.
it's 2014. That's why I couldn't say it for last year.
Yeah.
It missed the boat. Last gen. The Last of Us.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Last
good
of Us
soundtrack.
soundtrack is another one I find myself listening to quite a bit.
Also for Naughty Dog soundtracks overall, Uncharted 3 I think has the best soundtrack in the entire series.
Hmm They did go with a different composer for 4.
Yes.
And I thought he did a good job of staying in
Jackman-
touch with the roots, but overall I do think 3's is better.
A lot of the motifs, I mean, yeah, granted, some of the different takes on the Nate theme they were really well done, but a lot of Henry Jackman's overall motifs seemed, in general, borrowed from some of the Marvel movies. I mean, Winter Soldier, Civil War, So I liked Henry Jackman's work there, but it didn't feel like the Greg Edmondson Uncharted soundtracks of before.
All right, so I pulled up my Spotify list here where I've got a bunch of video game soundtracks
Nice.
kind of saved, so this should help me. I'm gonna just spit out a whole bunch real quick at you.
Okay.
You've got the triple threat from Bethesda with Oblivion, Skyrim, and Fallout 3, which I all think had phenomenal soundtracks. Oblivion specifically stands out to me a little bit more than the rest. I like the kind of more, it had more of a fantasy vibe to it compared to well, I guess Skyrim had more of like a Viking type thing to it.
Yeah,
It
and
seemed like.
everyone knows the Dragonborn theme. So.
Yes. Also standing out to me, I think Arkham City. I know Max mentioned Arkham Knight. I think Arkham City is the best soundtrack in that
Agreed.
franchise. Personally,
Yes.
I think the main theme from Arkham City is phenomenal and is right up there with me with even like Danny Elfman's Batman theme. Honestly, like I don't.
We agree.
It's not as iconic, but I think the way that main theme builds slowly is just incredible, and it's
that's one of the special tracks from Last Generation. Yeah.
yes, I completely agree. That's on my short list of favorites from last gen. Looking down here, I can't go without mentioning BioShock 1, 2, and 3, or not 3, Infinite, of course. I think
Infinite
those games,
especially.
Infinite, I think definitely stands out the most because of I like the piano, the focus on the piano, and that they all do good jobs at different things. Like I feel like the score to Infinite adds to it's almost like floaty, kind of in the way that Columbia is. Like it's, I don't know, a lot of echoes. I don't know. It's hard to explain, especially since I haven't listened to that soundtrack in quite some time. But all of the BioShocks definitely stand out in my mind. And then I don't know. You mentioned
Brawl.
Yeah, Smash Brothers Brawl. Like I almost wanted to put there as a sentimental pick. Like it's one of the best soundtracks as far as overall collections.
I remember living in St. John, and like when they would put tracks out, I would rip them and just listen to like the 10 songs over and over and over. You know, I had the Meta Knight a song, and
Angel
there was
Island
Zelda in there,
Zone,
and Metal Gear. Like all those songs were just that I just would listen to them so much, and
Good times.
it's good stuff.
The last one I would give a big shout out to from Last Generation is Heavy Rain. I think Heavy Rain had a phenomenal soundtrack that I've never had a soundtrack tug at my heartstrings like that one did. I mean, that story is so emotional and so impactful, and I don't think it carries that same weight unless it's got that incredible score behind it.
Yeah,
so
the Ethan Mars theme in particular.
Yes, the Ethan Mars theme in particular, yeah, is phenomenal. It's probably one of my favorite. That in particular is probably one of my favorite songs from last gen. So
okay.
So there's that. Now, are we going to all time?
Yeah, let's go all time. I'll say for mine, Persona 4 Golden in particular is my favorite game of all time. But you know, if we're gonna go like way back, I like the Golden soundtrack overall more. But you know, Persona 4 is still a very fine soundtrack in its own right. So that would be up there for me. Chrono Trigger.
Yes, Chrono Trigger is phenomenal.
That's an all-time great. And then, considering its limitations at the time, Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2's
got a dope soundtrack.
Yeah, like I saw someone talking the other day of like, you know, what's the best soundtrack, like Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 3? If you had to pick between the two, and if I had to say Mega Man 3 hits the higher highs on individual tracks, but as a more overall cohesive unit and overall soundtrack, it's got to be Mega Man 2. So I think those would be my three.
The one that I have told Max of recently, the one that I've talked about quite a lot, and the one that I keep trying to convince Max is the best ever, is the obvious answer of Ocarina of Time. I think is the most notable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of. I mean, I was like 4 or 5 when I first played the game, and I played that game so many times that all of those tracks really just stuck out to me in particular. I know a lot of them are borrowed from some previous Zelda games, but that was the first time I heard some of the iconic tracks from that series. So that's always stood out in my mind. But I also think that all of the temple themes from that game are incredibly unique, and I like pretty much all of them. I also like all the specific Ocarina songs that you play to transport everywhere or teleport everywhere, whatever. There's just a bunch of really, really good songs in that game, and Zelda's always been noted for its music, but Ocarina of Time's soundtrack to me specifically is probably my
Epona's
favorite.
theme is just Zelda's theme backwards. I've learned that.
No.
At least
Not
the button
really.
commands are. The button commands are.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it is. Not that I.
Have you played Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword?
Yes.
Yes, the Ballad of the Goddess,
Yeah.
isn't that the theme backwards?
Yes, it is. So
Yeah.
like, if we're talking about songs that go backwards, like, that's pretty clear.
That's a really good point.
For me,
I have another memorable after
go for it.
after Max. Go ahead though.
No, conclude your list.
Pokemon, again, coming back to that for the 50th time this episode. Again, the original soundtrack is obviously incredibly iconic. I would almost put Gold and Silver ahead of the original soundtrack in some ways. I really like Gold and Silver a lot. And I think
I like.
I don't know. You really can't go wrong with either of those first two entries, either Red and Blue, or Gold and Silver. They each have such good soundtracks, and I really do. Even up until Ruby and Sapphire, I think Ruby and Sapphire were strong in their own rights. Lots of horns, but I like that personally. It wasn't until around Diamond and Pearl that I started feeling like it was wearing a little bit, or I don't know. It didn't have the same resonance with me as it did previously.
I would say don't sleep on Black and White's soundtrack. That was one I did on my YouTube channel. That was a good list. But yeah, overall, if we're talking best, I prefer Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but I mean it comes all from the same root. The melodies overall. So.
I think overall my favorite soundtrack, now I get to mention it, is Shovel Knight. I do think Shovel Knight is my favorite video game soundtrack. I think the stuff Jake Kaufman has done with that music. I can't wait for the 2 new expansions because that just means more new music. I really
Strike the Earth is one of the best opening songs, opening stage songs of all time.
It's such a good soundtrack. Yeah. Some other ones that I'm looking over at my shelf and they just hit me. Wind Waker. Yeah. Wind Waker's my favorite Zelda game and also my favorite Zelda soundtrack. There's just something about when that open sea theme swells up when the sun is rising and you're sailing. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, Wind Waker's in my top 5 games of all time, and that soundtrack is very special. Yeah.
It's near and dear to my heart. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is another one that I love a lot. Not just the game, but the music as well. It's one of the video game soundtracks I put all 300 songs on my phone. It just lives there. Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can't beat
how can you beat
Phendrana
Drifts?
Goddamn, yeah.
You can't. Last but not least, I think Animal Crossing New Leaf has a very nice soundtrack.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Those are one. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is another one. It's pretty good.
I think a lot of people don't give that soundtrack enough credit, and that game.
They don't give that game enough credit.
Soundtracks they mean a lot to us, whether or not we really realize it or not. But sound is important, music is important in our overall game experience. So when certain games I think lend themselves for podcast listening, whether it's like you're driving around in Grand Theft Auto 5 or something like that, and you put a podcast on, whatever. But when a game and its score are certainly meant to elicit specific feelings, you can't really ignore that. And so certain ones will stand out more than others, and certain ones are of higher quality than others. So I'm looking to kind of focus on that, and I want to do something where I also play the guitar, and I want to kind of get back to a YouTube series of almost tutorials of how to play certain songs. So that's kind of what I'm looking.
That'd be really cool.
Kind of looking to get back into that aspect of media, YouTube and games and all that, in addition to going on podcasts and talking and discussing news. So
putting your voice back out there.
Yeah, and it's something I miss doing. So I really want to appreciate and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to come back and talk about games. Especially it's a big week. I mean, we're all gonna remember where we were when we heard about these NX rumors, and it's one of those historic moments, and we'll wait and see when Nintendo gives that official confirmation.
Ooh,
I was in a smelly boiler room when I read this article.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was at my work.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
So,
that's so good.
yeah, Peter, we have. I think we're kind of heading towards wrapping the show up. So we have really appreciated having you on here, and I know you've been, like you said, you've been looking to kind of get your voice back out there. If you want to come on, for sure, feel free to come on anytime. We would love to have you back. I know we've talked about having more guests on the show. That's one of the things we want to do a lot going forward. So if you've ever got a free weekend, we definitely would love having you if we don't already have somebody else booked. So I think specifically this week, I think it was valuable having you on, considering you are writing your thesis on the NX. So I think we chose a good week to have you on the show, because I think we were going to have you on this week regardless. And then, of course, this news dropped. So that was definitely a plus.
It was serendipitous. It couldn't have worked out better. So
it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I know
so
it's been a longer one, and I apologize for that. I know I can be long-winded, but
we always hit between 90 minutes and 2 hours. That's our sweet spot. So
all right.
we make a doozy episodes.
Yeah, we aren't those 60-minute shows like most people. So this is pretty normal for us. But with all of that said, thank you so much for listening this week. We really do appreciate it. You can find, going through our whole end of the show spiel here, you can find the show on at MGS Podcast on Twitter. You can find myself, Logan, at Moreman12. You can find Max at Max the White. Peter, where can everybody find you at on Twitter?
On Twitter at Peter J Speizia. That's Spezia.
So go follow Peter right there at Peter J Speizia. You can email the show with any question, comments, or concerns that you may have at mgspodcast@gmail.com. You can please, if you're watching on YouTube, you can like, comment, or subscribe. We would appreciate all of those. You can also find us on Facebook at Millennial Gaming Speak, YouTube again at Millennial Gaming Speak. You can find us, just Google us. I'm sure you can find us in all of those places. Again, I've been trying to emphasize, if you could go leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would be phenomenal. We would appreciate it so much. Hey, if you just want to go click 5 stars and then just type jibber jabber in the review section, you know what? That still counts, and we would appreciate that. So, but we're always looking for criticism and something constructive to help us out in the future, because we're trying to make this show as good as possible. So, if you guys could please leave us any feedback, we would greatly appreciate it. I think that the last thing that we wanted to mention this week, or I wanted to mention at least before we moved on, if you listen to last week's episode, we've been talking about what we want to do with the show going forward, and just what we want to do as a whole. Me and Max are in the early planning stages of possibly creating a website and creating a sort of brand to house this show and maybe a couple other podcasts under as well. We don't know what that's going to look like going forward, but we will be sure to keep you updated. So just know that we're working on things, and we're trying to figure out where we want to take this show and possible brand in the future.
Ideas are floating around. People are being reached out to. It's like, Logan's reached out to people. I haven't, because I'm just sitting here. But we've done research, and we're in the early stages. But we do want to try and keep you, the audience, in the loop.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about talking to you guys and letting you know where we're going. So, website for sure is in the early planning stages. We will give you more of a heads up the more we figure out moving into the future, because we still have a bunch of stuff to do before we can ever launch that. But we will be sure to let you know anything as soon as we figure it out. Other than that, I think that's it for this week's episode, unless any of you guys had anything else you wanted to say before we dodge out of here.
Sounds like a full show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks again, Peter, for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, I think that's it for episode 52. We thank you so much for listening this week. We hope you come back next week with us for episode 53. I don't know what we'll talk about. Maybe we'll talk about Ocarina of Time if Max finishes up that game.
I'm at the Spirit Temple, so
we're getting close. So maybe next week will be our Ocarina of Time discussion. We'll see where we go from there. But we hope you join us again next week during episode 53. We love you all. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boom, bada, bing.